So that is why the eligible customer window serves as the avenue for us to evacuate this stranded power.
This Automotive power plant, NDPHC company, I think they give us the very steady power. Before maybe just people can only use the diesel generator or just or other kind of generator. It just makes a lot of cost. But as we become the eligible power user, so it enables us can use this power directly for 24 hours without stopping. We really benefit from it here, like our the factory, like our ethanol factory, like this MDF factory. All the factories we needed the power very steady and continuously. So we feel happy for it.
But as with every endeavor, the NIPP, like other corporate organizations, cannot quickly forget the impact of COVID-19 pandemic on its activities while embracing the new normal for sustained growth and development of the power sector in the years ahead. Undaunted as it looks forward, NIPP extends felicitations to Nigerians at all times. NTA Tuesday Live, analytical, in-depth, educative and interactive on national issues, accommodating all sides of opinions.
We as a people have understood that we have to fight corruption before it fights us back.
Poverty has a financial index, so it should be fought also with a financial weapon. Give it to the social investments program. It has been a very courageous battle.
Tuesday Live, every Tuesday at 10:30 p.m. Join us.
Latest entrant, latest technology. Welcome to Intel 4G LTE Advanced and experience super fast internet access today. Visit intel.com.ng or any of our stores in Lagos, Abuja, and Port Harcourt to get started. Intel. Live more.
From dusk to dawn, 24 hours a day, NTA International is with you in your living room, office, everywhere and anywhere. We provide the company you desire in terms of balanced and up-to-date news, programs and the best of entertainment. Tune in to DSTV channel 251, GoTV channel 91, Freeview UK channel 264, or you can download www.visiontv.co.uk. App for iOS or Android. You can also see us on Facebook and YouTube for quality content on the go. NTA International, Africa's window to the world.
In the midst of the coronavirus pandemic, information management is key.
I'm Cyril Stober.
Fatima Umar Buba.
Joseph Johnson.
Ian Ray John.
Muhammad Kudu Abubakar.
Jumbo Yusuf.
My name is Kirian Umaya.
Here in NTA, we're working very hard to make sure that everything we broadcast is accurate and up to date. Misinformation spreads very fast.
The social media has been a huge conveyor of misleading information from one individual to another, then to another set of groups. In a short while, it goes viral, and before you know it, it is all over the world.
There have been several misleading information on coronavirus COVID-19. Recently, the misconception of 5G as a cause of coronavirus is becoming widespread. Another is the belief that hot beverage
Vice President Yemi Osinbajo welcomes efforts of Nigerian scientists on research into COVID-19 treatment.
We have introduced reforms of fiscal incentive policies to prioritize job creation.
Federal government expresses commitment to the implementation of 2021 budget.
What you saw being demonstrated here is to show that Nigerian Army uphold fundamental human rights, and the Chief of Army Staff does not hesitate to punish anybody that violates it.
The military intensifies efforts in fighting bandits and banditry as Army court-martial sentences one to death for killing senior officer. And federal government signs Kano Maradi railway contract. Hello and welcome to Network News tonight, reaching you live from our studio in Abuja. I'm Ian Ray John. Reading with me tonight, I have Dotun Guyemi in Lagos, while Obehi Otobo Prasai will be joining us later from Benin. Thanks for joining us. Vice President Yemi Osinbajo has welcomed efforts by a team of Nigerian scientists investigating the effectiveness and roles that ivermectin drug can play in the treatment of the coronavirus disease. State House correspondent Jide Onifade reports.
The theme, which is composed of Nigerian scholars at home and abroad, has also submitted their report on the usefulness of the drug to the World Health Organization, which has already appointed a peer review expert from the United Kingdom. While being briefed on the report by a team of scientists led by Professor Femi Babalola, the principal investigator, and Professor Chris Bode, the chief medical director of Lagos University Teaching Hospital, the Vice President expressed excitement that Nigeria and Nigerians are at the cutting edge of scientific research into the COVID-19 treatment. Commending the efforts of the team, Vice President Yemi Osinbajo noted that with the report, Nigeria is at an advantage both in knowledge and availability of the drug, especially since ivermectin has been found useful not only in the treatment of COVID-19, but also as a prophylactic medication. He said the federal government would explore further ways to support the research for the benefit of Nigerians and humanity, while also advancing the effective funding of scientific research in the country. The team commended the Buhari presidency for encouraging the research and thanked the Vice President for his personal role and support. In the State House, Jide Onifade, NT News.
Now, looking at the economy, the federal government is optimistic that the 2021 budget will perform optimally with strategies put in place. Minister of Finance, Budget and National Planning, Zainab Ahmed, who gave the assurance while presenting a breakdown of the federal government's budget, also advised Nigerians to familiarize themselves with the Citizens Guide available on the website of the Budget Office of the Federation. Leah Katung Babatunde joined the webinar and now reports.
2020 was a very challenging year for the entire human race. It started well and ended a complete departure from all expectations. In Nigeria, the budget had to be reviewed downwards, but impressively, Nigeria attained 73% revenue success rate based on figures already collated against all odds. The IMF projects that global economy will recover gradually to 5.2% despite a slowdown in 2020. Sub-Saharan Africa will see an improvement of 3% against a contraction of 3.1%. Nigeria is projected by the IMF to record a GDP growth rate of 1.7%, though the National Bureau of Statistics puts the figure at 3%. The Minister of Finance, Budget and National Planning, Zainab Ahmed, this Tuesday gave a virtual breakdown of the spending plan for 2021 and where the funds would come from. She explains the Finance Act will ease economic strains on individuals and companies, adding that government remains open to receiving ingenious advices.
The Finance Act 2020 has adopted a counter-cyclical policy direction to respond to this economic downturn. We have introduced some fiscal relief measures to provide relief to taxpayers. We've also introduced reforms of fiscal incentive policies to prioritize job creation and create recovery and growth and foster closer coordination between monetary, trade, and fiscal authorities.
The budget is predicated on the $40 per barrel oil benchmark, 11.95% inflation rate, and an exchange rate of 379 naira to the dollar. Defense and security, infrastructure, as well as youth, women, and social development are top on the critical sectors allocation table for the year. The minister assures there are initiatives to enhance revenue collection and control expenditure. The initiatives would also improve the business environment, support the economic sustainability plan, and improve the social well-being of Nigerians. In Abuja, Leah Katung Babatunde, NTA News.
Meanwhile, Nigeria is appealing to the federal government to consider reversing its decision in the 2020 Finance Act that reduces tariff on importation of certain automotive in a bid to save the sector from total collapse. Nigeria Chairman Ahmed Wadada Aliyu stated this at a briefing in Abuja. Musa Abubakar reports.
Just when some businesses are applauding the federal government on the 2020 Finance Act and its tax breaks to businesses, the automotive industry, on the other hand, is not smiling.
And talking about mobility today in Nigeria, you cannot wish away the automobile sectors.
The implementation of the Act, which commenced on 1st January 2021, reduces duty on imported buses from 35% to 10%, fully built cars from 35% to 5%, and trucks from 35% to 10%. This PAN Chairman Ahmed Wadada says could affect National Automotive Industry Development Plan, which is aimed at promoting the sector in the country.
The government should increase the demand for locally assembled mini and city buses by the launching of a low-cost vehicle asset acquisition fund under the control of the Nigeria Automotive Design and Development Council. With such a progressive move, haulage bus and truck owners will readily refleet to better serve the masses.
Either the common man will get the transportation cost reduction that is required, and neither will the industry itself grow, because we are going to shut down.
PAN is hoping for a reverse to save the sector from loss of huge investment, 6,000 jobs, as well as avoid making the country a dumping ground for used vehicles. In Abuja, I am Musa Abubakar, NTA News.
In other news, as part of its promise to connect the whole country by rail, the federal government has signed a memorandum of understanding with a Portuguese-based company for the construction of $1.9 billion Kano-Maradi standard gauge railway lines. Signing on behalf of the federal government, Minister of Transportation Chibuike Rotimi Amechi says government is committed towards revolutionizing the transportation system in Nigeria. Managing Director of the contracting firm, Antonio Graca, disclosed that the project, besides developing freight and passengers transport, will be integrated with road transportation, which will make great contribution to the local economy.
Access to the site and to start preparing all the activities we have to do according with our engineering design.
Kano-Maradi Rail project is not a standalone project. It is part of the greater Lagos-Kano-Maradi project, and it is also part of the greater West African community agreements towards expanding trade and transport.
Well, it's a decision, a strategic decision of the Nigerian government, and they choose, we didn't send them, they choose a Portuguese company who's very experienced in Africa and very good at that. They just won another contract in a very close country and another bid in another close country.
The Kano-Maradi Railway will run through 3 states of Kano, Jigawa, Katsina, and Niger Republic as far as Maradi. Besides providing transportation, the project will provide additional socio-economic benefit to both countries. It is expected to be completed in May 2023. And away from the railway, contrary to widely circulated reports of an impending total closure of the 3rd mainland bridge from the 13th of January 2021, the Federal Controller of Works in Lagos, Olukayode Popola, has debunked the news, stating that rather consultations are ongoing with the Lagos State government and other stakeholders towards shifting existing diversion points for construction works on the bridge starting from January 15. In a statement, Popola noted that the existing traffic diversion arrangement remains valid, as the contractor would only be moving the current diversion point towards Oworoshoki and close the Adekunle Slip Road on the Lagos Island-bound carriageway for 2 weeks. President Muhammadu Buhari has approved the posting of ambassador designates to Nigerian missions abroad. The list includes 43 career ambassadors and 52 non-career ambassadors. With this development, the process of requesting for agreements from the respective countries of posting has commenced. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs says there will be an induction course for the ambassador designates and their spouses, which will hold on a date to be announced shortly to prepare and facilitate movement to the respective missions. Courts martial sentenced a soldier to death. We'll bring you details of this and more after the break. Stay with us.
Are you ready for this?
Let me hear you, AJ.
Ready for this?
Give me some bass.
That good for you?
Nice, AJ.
Just one.
Bring it up.
Just one.
Double it.
Just one. Just one.
I was born hungry for success. It's the Nigerian way.
Glow gets it. Champions stay hungry. Oh yeah. Glow gets it big time.
One more for sure.
Champions go the distance and then go further.
Glow, the heart of a champion.
The Bachama Traditional Council specially acknowledged the goodwill messages of the President and Commander-in-Chief of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, His Excellency President Muhammadu Buhari, GCFR, His Eminence the Sultan of Sokoto, Alhaji Muhammad Said Abubakar III, CFR, MNI, the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Barrister Boss Mustafa, and expressed profound appreciation to all dignitaries and guests who graced and contributed in diverse ways to the successful coronation and presentation of first-class staff of office to His Royal Majesty Daniel Shaga Ismaila, PhD OON, Bawonomie Gilengedia, the 29th Hammer Bachama by His Excellency Right Honorable Amadu Umaru Fintiri, the Executive Governor of Adamawa State, on Wednesday, December 23rd, 2020 at Makoda Square, Numan. Signed to Joel Madaki Nzomboro Kaku Bachama, Chairman Coronation Organizing Committee 2020 for Bachama Traditional Council.
Dear customer, link your Airtel number to your national identification number today. Here are easy ways you can do it. Dial *121*1# on your Airtel line and follow the prompts on the screen. Type in your 11-digit government-approved NIN number. You will receive a confirmation message to confirm your entry. You can also visit www.airtel.com.ng/NIN to link your phone number to your NIN. If you do not know your NIN, simply dial *346# to get it. No stress, no wahala.
Airtel, the smartphone network.
The Office of the Accountant General of the Federation, Federal Ministry of Finance, postponement of 4th National Treasury Workshop. The Accountant General of the Federation regrets to inform all invited Directors of Finance and Accountants, Directors of Internal Audit and all MDAs, all Commissioners of Finance of the 36 states and the FCT, all Accountants General of the 36 states and the FCT, all revenue-generating agencies and other relevant stakeholders that the 3-day National Treasury Workshop earlier scheduled to hold from Monday 18th to Wednesday 20th January 2020 at Ibom Hotel, formerly Loma Region Hotel, Uyo Akwa Ibom State, has been postponed. All inconveniences caused by the postponement, which is due to the rise in the COVID-19 cases as announced by the Presidential Task Force on the COVID-19, is highly regretted. A future date will be communicated. Signed, Ahmed Idris, FCNA, Accountant General of the Federation.
It's gonna be perfect. It's gonna be worth it. It's gonna be
It's the natural ingredients and rich flavor of North that brings people together.
Mama Mina won't send money, make Amina collect for school. Obina won't withdraw from your account, but you no carry in card. Hey, written them go use.
Momo agents, then go use you.
Sissy Ronke won't pay light bill plus recharge Go TV. Nishi for no go miss Telemundo. Tamuno say she won't buy data for phone.
Wetin dem go use? Na Momo agents, then go use you.
Now with your Momo agent, you fit send and receive money, plus to withdraw money for your bank account without card or data. You fit also buy airtime and data or pay any kind bill where you want. Just dial *223# to see the Momo agent when near you. Momo agent, safe, fast, no wahala.
Thank you for staying. 7 Division General Court Martial Operation Lafia Doli has sentenced a soldier to death and 6 others to imprisonment and reduction in rank for committing murder, manslaughter and assault. The judgments were delivered today by President of the General Court Martial, Brigadier General Aripo Ekubi, sitting at May Malari Cantonment in Maiduguri. Maimuna Gaba reports.
Delivering the judgment, President of the General Court Martial Brigadier General Aripo Ekobi said Trooper Azuna Madubuchi of 202 Battalion Bama was guilty of the offense of murder, who intentionally opened fire on Lieutenant B.S. Ngorji.
The sentence of this General Court Martial on you, Trooper Azuna Madubuchi, for the offense of murder is to suffer death, as provided under Section 106 of the Armed Forces Act.
The President of the Court Martial delivered verdicts are Sergeant Sani Ishaya and 3 others found guilty of committing manslaughter and sentenced Sergeant Sani Ishaya to 4 years imprisonment, while Lance Corporal Fabi Bidimi 2 years imprisonment, as well as Private Adamu Abdurrashid and Private Musa Bala 1 year imprisonment each. The court martial also found Private Mohammed Kuru guilty of manslaughter for causing accidental discharge, killing a 12-year-old boy, sentenced to 3 years imprisonment, while Lance Corporal Ajao Emmanuel got a reduction in rank from Lance Corporal to private soldier for causing grievous harm to a civilian.
The judgment passed today, personally, it has been fair.
What you saw being demonstrated here is to show that Nigerian Army upheld fundamental human rights.
They both expressed satisfaction with the verdict and commended the General Court Martial for bringing justice to bear. In Maiduguri, Maimuna Garba, NTA News.
The Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Tukur Buratai, has charged candidates of the 80 regular intake of the Nigerian Army to be prepared to serve at any part of the country. General Buratai gave the charge to the prospective soldiers at the Falgore Forest, Kano, a former den for criminals. Defense correspondent Ismail Musa has details.
6,000 candidates comprising male and female for the 80 regular intake of the Nigerian Army converged at the Falgore Forest, Kano, for the final screening exercise into the Nigerian Army. With a mixture of savanna and Sahel vegetation, the forest, a former hideout for bandits and kidnappers, provides the needed challenge for testing and screening of these prospective soldiers.
We must have the best.
While at the Falgore Forest, that has been dominated and developed to a training ground, the Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Tukur Buratai, urged the candidates to be disciplined and be prepared to serve in any war front after successful recruitment and training.
All of you will go to Sambisa at the end of your depot training. Is that clear? If you are not ready to move to Sambisa and other parts of the country, are not ready to be loyal at any point, then it's not late. You can just stand up and go.
The candidates selected from all states of the Federation and the FCT, full of joy and high morale, cheer up each other as they moved to the long-awaited final mandatory physical test, the 30 and 20-kilometer race for male and female. From Falgore Forest in Kano, Ismail Musa, NTA News.
And still on security, the Nigerian Air Force has partnered with an indigenous firm in the area of personnel empowerment and the provision of logistics to boost security of lives and property. While inspecting the firm's facilities in Lagos, the Chief of the Air Staff, Sadiq Abubakar, stated that the fight against crime is not for the armed forces alone, but a collective responsibility of all Nigerians. Adiola Komiakere reports.
The multiple security challenges of Nigeria persistently keep the members of the armed forces on their toes as more strategies and collaborations are introduced into the warfare. This is the essence of this Lagos trip embarked upon by the Chief of the Air Staff, Air Marshal Sadiq Abubakar. With the reception over, Air Marshal Abubakar and his entourage proceeded to the indigenous company that has specialized on marine and aviation logistics services for a period of about 19 years. He expressed satisfaction with the facilities on ground, calling for more private participation in the provision of needed facilities for the Air Force to beef up its operations.
We can key into so many things that they are doing here so that we can get serviceable Augusta 109 and probably the 139 as well as the Bell 412. The facilities they have is top-class facilities, and I believe that we are going to work together with them so that we'll build the required capacity for us to continue to do the job assigned to us.
I will work assiduously with him to do our best to ensure that everything they want that we can provide are delivered with utmost urgency, with transparency as well.
With this partnership, the Nigerian Air Force will no longer engage the services of foreign firms in the maintenance of some of its aircrafts. This is in line with the Presidential Executive Order Number 5, which encourages local content in public procurement with science, engineering, and technology components. In Lagos, Adeola Komiakere, NTA News.
Meanwhile, the Nigeria Police Force has approved the posting and redeployment of commissioners of police to 21 state commands and formations. A statement from the Nigeria Police indicates that CP Adeleke Adeyinka Bode has been posted to Kebbi State. CP Philip Marco Special Protection Unit, Force Headquarters, Abuja. CP Ali Janga Aji, Sokoto State. CP Ohikere S. Idris, Armament Force Headquarters, Abuja, while others have also been redeployed to 17 additional state commands and formations. The statement explains that the postings and redeployments are with immediate effect. And away from security, community involvement coupled with other stringent measures and the fight against armed bandits and kidnapping Katsina State plays significant role in recording tremendous success in rescue operations of kidnapped victims in the state. Shehu Adamu reports that this has led to the rescuing of no fewer than 180 kidnapped victims. Details of that report will be brought to you in our subsequent bulletin. Now, following the fire outbreak in Kugbo Market in Abuja Municipal Area Council, FCT, Minister of State Ramatu Tijani Aliyu has called for the reorganization and remodeling of the market. This was during the minister's visits to victims of the Kugbo Market inferno, where she acknowledged critical stakeholders for their prompt response. Ifeanyi Izumba reports that over 80 timber shades and 300 furniture shops were affected in the incident.
While pledging that the FCT administration would see how best to assist the victims, the FCT Minister of State, Ramatu Tijani Aliyu, tasked traders to take precautionary measures as most of the goods sold in the market are highly flammable, revealing that the personnel of FCT Fire Service is poised to train traders on how to curtail fire outbreak.
We will pray against this, yes, but I want us all to take heart because every pin matters. Every 1 naira matters in this difficult time. But we will also see what we can do. And for those who survived the inferno, the little we can to assist our brothers, especially those who lost much, please lend a hand.
Conducting the minister around the scene, Malam Sani Seidu told the minister that the fire outbreak could be linked to electrical upsurge.
There is a electrical problem because we have a lot of machines here.
You know the problem why this fire is like this, that Kubo furniture material are dealing with combustible material. I told them in that last year, if we had that very program, that every shop must have a fire extinguisher and trained.
All the home markets we are selling here is chemical, wood, plywood, edge tape, all of them can consume fire.
Madam Seidu maintained that as soon as the fire service received the information from Kubo residents, the service deployed personnel from Nyanya before the intervention of firefighters from armed forces, the Nigerian Army, Air Force, and Navy. In Abuja, Ifeanyi Isumba, NT News.
Let's talk politics now. The All Progressives Congress membership registration and revalidation exercise is to commence in the next 2 weeks. A committee led by the governor of Kogi State, Yahaya Bello, has been inaugurated at the party's national secretariat in Abuja to ensure the success of the exercise. Salihu Abdullahi Gwanara reports.
Happy New Year to you all.
It is the first public function by the APC Caretaker Committee in 2021. Chairman of the committee, Governor Maimala Buni, while inaugurating the Youth, Women and the Physically Challenged Mobilization and Sensitization Committee, says the APC is undertaking strategic measures in its rebuilding processes.
The committee is hereby advised to liaise with all stakeholders in all the states to carry everyone on board for an all-inclusive program.
Chairman of the three-man member committee, Governor Yahaya Bello, is confident that APC is being repositioned as a strong political institution for quality and all-inclusive democratic practice.
All those who left the party before, those who are desirous of joining the party, and those who are desirous of decamping from other political parties to APC, that window has been opened.
Governor Dapo Abiodun of Ogun State is the vice chairman, while Professor Usuji Medena is the secretary of the committee. In Abuja, Salihu Abdullahi Gwanara, NTA News.
As Nigerians are keenly waiting to vote candidates of their choice in the 2023 general elections, the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, is in early preparation by reviewing the voter education manual of the commission to effect new guidelines. Ngasia Peve has details.
The 4-day event by Independent National Electoral Commission is geared towards reviewing the voter education manual to accommodate new trends as well as give room to expand and improve on the existing manual to favorably capture all Nigerians, especially women and youths.
The Commission is reviewing this process with a view to upgrading and with a view to, improving the conduct of elections in 2023.
Participants at the meeting, who are staff of the Commission in the Department of Voter Education and Publicity, acknowledged the relevance of the manual evaluation.
Since we had the last one, a lot of changes has come. The young ones are yearning to be part of the system.
We'll be able to harvest the things that are already there, the things that are not there.
At the end of the voter manual examination, reviewers are expected to come up with an improved version to address shortcomings of the present voter manual. From Kefi, Nguse PV, NTA News.
We'll pause here in Abuja and let Dotun feed us with more stories from Lagos. Dotun, it's over to you.
Thank you, Ian Rai.
After a 2-day lull in the ongoing registration for National Identification Number, the exercise has recommenced with centers across Lagos State recording a surge in the number of applicants. Adeni Taiwo reports that anxious applicants are calling for the establishment of more centers to address gaps in the registration process ahead of February 9 deadline for phone number NIN synchronization.
This is the Alausa office of the National Identity Management Commission, NIMSI. It is a busy day for officials of the commission, as security agents here and other centers across the state where anxious applicants wait on long queues for their turn in the registration process.
He did my online, so I printed a form out. So they asked me to bring it to Alausa here. I spoke to one of the officials and showed him. One of them told me it does not matter. I have to redo it again.
And you talk to a few people, they're telling you different stories. The organizers of the program are not communicating with anybody.
Apart from having to travel long distances to some of the enrollment centers, some of the applicants also alleged form racketeering by touts who they said were exploiting the situation to make money.
You can imagine the population of Lagos, and you have just this one center for the whole of this area.
Apart from its 50 office centers spread across the state, the commission says it has activated its licensed agents to commence enrollment as well as biometric data capturing of Lagos residents.
Some of them have started. I know that a lot of telcos, they are also licensed agents. In the next couple of days, you will see more of their presence in Lagos State.
Okwesowo, however, want Nigerians to avoid any form of incomplete NIN registration, especially those purportedly done by harmonizing bank verification number.
A NIN has been allocated to the BVN. So if such BVN holders dial *346, they will get a NIN. But the NIN becomes active when they come to our enrollment center to complete the data, the biometrics capturing.
Aside the much publicized government directives on phone numbers and NIN synchronization, submission of NIN has now become mandatory for vehicle registration. In Lagos, Adeni Taiwo, NTA News.
And away from that now, the Nigerian Navy has inaugurated several projects under the Western Naval Command to promote welfare of its personnel as well as improve physical and maritime security. Among projects inaugurated were Type A and B transit accommodation for ratings at Navy Town, Ojo, conceived as a quick impact project to address the shortage of residential accommodation for junior ratings drafted to various units in Lagos. The two blocks consist of 74 self-contained rooms with functional spaces such as common rooms, kitchens, stores, and restaurants.
Not less than 230 junior ratings accommodated to perform their duties in their various units.
At the Nigerian Navy ship Beecroft Apapa, projects such as the reconstructed and automated main access gate, a 200-seat pavilion at the parade ground, CCTVs for enhanced monitoring of the bays and adjoining waterfront, as well as the renovated motor transport yard were inaugurated.
Overall, these projects that were commissioned today would improve on welfare and well-being of personnel, as well as enhance operational capability to secure the bays as well as the waterways.
The FOC also paid special tribute in the spirit of the 2021 Armed Forces Remembrance Day to troops at the front lines in various theaters of operations. And that's it from here. We now pause for a break.
In Ibadan, the capital of Oyo State, southwest Nigeria, has been repositioned for better service delivery to its teeming clients across the globe. The institute remains undoubtedly as a farmers' research center of excellence with respect to knowledge-based forestry activities, as measured by the acquired scientific breakthrough. FREEN has demonstrated that youths, women and retirees can make millions of naira practicing low-capital agriculture. These include cane, rat, rabbit and snail farming, with returns on investments regularly. Added to its feathers is a certification by NAFDAC to the Frin C-Tone Herbal Mixture and Remedy for the management of COVID-19 related ailments as immune booster. The institute is recognized by several international agencies. Recently, it got approval for 3 biosphere reserves in Nigeria by the UNESCO, MAB, and ICC. Frin has come to stay. The future is very bright in making the forest profitable.
Dear customer, link your Airtel number to your national identification number today. Here are easy ways you can do it. Dial *121*1# on your Airtel line and follow the prompts on the screen. Type in your 11-digit government-approved NIN number. You will receive a confirmation message to confirm your entry. You can also visit www.airtel.com.ng/NIN to link your phone number to your NIN. If you do not know your NIN, simply dial *346# to get it. No stress, no wahala.
Airtel, the smartphone network.
The new Lifebuoy hand sanitizers with 70% alcohol will kill 99.9% of germs. Now available in convenient packs. Let us all take responsibility to fight this pandemic together.
Nigerian youths are about the greatest assets the country has at the moment. It is therefore not surprising that the administration of President Muhammadu Buhari is strategically responding to the yearnings of the youth through multiple projects and programs. Youth entrepreneurship support years by Bank of Industry, the Youth Investment Fund by the CBN, and several other conditional cash transfer programs. Recruitment of 774,000 social workers, majority of whom are youths, and so many other projects that are beneficial to youths directly or indirectly. If the administration can do all this, definitely with a degree of patience and time, it can achieve more. Nigerian youths must come together to say no to terrorism, no to vandalism, and no to all disruptive tendencies. #Youth for Greater Nigeria. Pacifying the youths, unifying the nation.
For over 70 years, we've protected our homes against germs together. And now is no different. So let's disinfect and protect our floors and surfaces every day. Dettol. Protect what's worth fighting for.
Glad to have you back. Let's now have a bit of business with Benny Adams, who's right here. Benny, good to see you.
Good to see you, Nyeri.
It appears the bulls are doing great as far as the stocks are concerned. Am I correct?
You are so very, very correct.
All right, so let's hear more.
Well, good evening. Ahead of July 1st deadline for members of Africa's new free trade area to complete their tariff reduction schedules and finalize essential rules of origin, economic experts have continued to express opinions on the areas of comparative advantage of member states. Dr. Emeka Okengu, a development economist, is of the view that implementation of Executive Orders 5, which talks about science, technology, and innovation, is key to Nigeria's market share in the AFCFTA.
If we're able to pursue that Executive Order 5 and we're able to align it, with programs like Ajokuta, getting it to fully function vis-a-vis its very complex mode of operations. Steel production is just one of the few things that you can be able to do there. So that we now have what you call our own products that we're going to be marketing in after. Something that we're going to be using in chasing the market share. I can tell you something for free. A lot of people might not know this, but Ajokuta has the capacity to produce hydrated lime. Hydrated lime is a very, very major demand for water purification. And we are importing, I think, I don't know, maybe it's even gone up now, about 18 million metric tons of hydrated lime into Nigeria.
Transactions on the floor of the Nigerian Stock Exchange today closed in positive territory, with all share index appreciating by 0.36% to close at 40,295.95 basis points, as against 0.08% appreciation recorded previously, with investors also gaining 75.91 billion naira. Traders exchanged 1.1 billion shares valued at 7.9 billion in 5,591 deals. Market capitalization stood at 21.06 trillion naira. Market turnover closed positive as volume moved up by 243.91%, as against 0.72% recorded in the previous session. Upcred, Mansard, and Transcorp were the most active to boost market turnover, with MTN on the market value list. The market's year-to-date return currently stands at 0.06%. That's a wrap on business.
Thank you so much, Benny, for that positive news there.
It's nice doing business with you.
Same here. All right, we're from business now. Senator Ayim Pius Ayim has commended Governor Nyesom Wike for the bottom-up approach of project conception and execution in the state, which he says is the essence of governance. Senator Ayim spoke at the inauguration of Rumekini Alu Road in Port Harcourt. Ogedin Yekure completes the report.
It is my singular honor to commission this.
The last few weeks have witnessed series of road inaugurations by the River State government. Another inauguration is the Rumekini Alu Road that attracted the former secretary to the government of the Federation, Senator Ayim Pius Ayim. Senator Ayim, while inaugurating the road, said he is pleased to be associated with the progress of River State government. He commended the governor for empowering indigenous contractors, thereby encouraging local content, which in his view is what Nigeria requires for progress.
Governor Wike is bonded with his people. As a result, he knows their needs and he conceived his projects to meet their needs. For this reason, there is none and there cannot be white elephant project in River State.
Governor Wike says River State government under his watch would not abandon any project but must complete every project started before the expiration of his tenure.
I have told the Minister of Works, because of what the local contractor has done, they must give him another job from Alo to Omagwan.
The Rumekini Alu Road is 5.8 kilometers long with a width of 10 meters and 5 kilometers drainage system for the control of flood water. In Port Harcourt, Ogedin Yekure, NTA News.
And back to our earlier report, community involvement coupled with other stringent measures in the fight against armed bandits and kidnapping in Katsina State is playing a significant role in recording tremendous success in rescue operations of kidnapped victims. Let's now have details with Shehu Adamu.
The abduction and subsequent rescue of 344 students of Government Science Secondary School Kankara was the first major litmus test for Katsina State government and security operatives fighting insecurity in the frontline areas of the northwestern part of the country. Security operatives adopted new strategies and strengthened existing ones, which led to the rescue of kidnapped victims in Katsina and bandits neutralized, as well as the recovery of arms and ammunition.
We've been telling the people, the world, that the problems we're having are community-based. Now community leaders are in partnership with us, together with the security forces, and that's why we're achieving these successes.
The Inspector General of Police intervened, set up a machinery in motion. that since these bandits on their own are calling for peace, it is not out of place for us to quickly accept those of them that are willing to drop their arms and embrace peace.
With the involvement of community as one of the strategies adopted in ensuring that kidnapped victims regain freedom from their abductors, traditional and religious leaders were optimistic that the new approach will go a long way in the return of normalcy in the frontline local government areas bedeviled by security challenges in Katsina State and the northwestern region.
To commend the federal government of Nigeria, the state government, and other security agencies for doing a wonderful job in curtailing this menace of security.
They also held the synergy among security operatives and pledged their support and cooperation in the fight against all forms of heinous activities in the state and the country at large. In Katsina, Shehu Adamu, NTA News.
From Katsina, let's go to Benin, where Obehi has the latest from that zone. Obehi, let's hear you.
Hello, Harry. Good to see you. One way in which the federal government can fast-track infrastructure development is to rehabilitate and reconstruct its roads across the country. This effort gets towards a hitch-free vehicular movement is yielding positive results in the Edo State end of the federal highway. Udakobong Achibong in this report brings us views and experiences regarding federal roads rehabilitation in the state.
In November 2020, when the federal government commenced repair work on its roads in Edo State, different portions of the road, such as found around Tusoko Bridge on the Benin-Lagos road that went bad, have been attended to. Some drivers and commuters attest to the improvements which have taken place.
We have worked in some places, like from Okada, Benin, so those places are, please, they work there, I witnessed it, I saw it. Inside Benin, Edo, yeah, it's still okay, because there is no pothole like that.
Benin Auchi Okene Road is another federal government span which experienced failure, but the portion is now undergoing rehabilitation and repair.
From that Obada, before you get to man, they track all those places.
According to the controller, Federal Ministry of Works, Edo State, contractors are returning to site.
At the end of this January, all the maintenance within this road must have been completed. And then the contractor will be able to focus on rehabilitation work.
For the users of these roads, a timely intervention on the bad portions of federal government roads in the state will tackle insecurity and other challenges. In Benin, Udakobong Achibong, NTA News.
And now to health. Ekiti State government is partnering with the federal government towards achieving remarkable primary health care service delivery in the state. To this end, Governor Kayode Fayemi has inaugurated 187 solar direct cold chain for primary healthcare facilities in the state. Kola Adeboboye reports.
The solar-powered refrigerators are targeted at boosting cold chain system management, facilitate uninterrupted availability and distribution of vaccines, and as well ensure optimal storage temperature to enhance immunization. Governor Fayemi said the initiative is to enhance effective immunization of children under the age of 5 years and pregnant women, and to improve the neonatal, infant, and maternal health indices in the state. The governor noted that the initiative, which was made possible through collaborative efforts and counterpart funds by the state with the federal government, will make people have access to safe vaccination.
All these are to ensure that our people are safe from untimely and avoidable death from infectious diseases. I salute our frontline health workers and the generality of health personnel for their various roles of saving lives of our dear people.
The Healthcare Authority said the provision of the solar-powered refrigerators is a reflection of government's efforts at repositioning the health sector and make qualitative health services available and accessible to Ekiti people. In Ado Ekiti, Kola Adeboboye, NTA News.
And that's it from Benin. The news continues after this break.
The Armed Forces and National Security on Tuesday Live tonight. The success and challenges of keeping the nation safe with those who should know. Tuesday Live, every Tuesday at 10:30 p.m. Join us.
Do you know that 35% of every girl child and women are raped on daily basis? Some are killed in the process, some take their lives in shame, others remain emotionally dead for life. It is sad. This culture is not ours, definitely not African. How did we allow bad culture to infiltrate and take over? Even if you lack fear for the law, what of fear of God? And you, why do you cover up rape acts when it happens? Remember, a problem shared is a problem half solved. Never cover any rape act because a rapist is a murderer. It could be you or your loved ones next. Women must be treated like the prize gem they are. Say no to rape.
Let's have a bit of sports now with Gift George as our guide.
In a bid for Nigeria to attain podium finish in all continental sporting events, administrators are clamoring for the reintroduction of sports commission at the national and state levels in order to avoid bureaucracy of the supervising ministry. States across the 6 geopolitical zones of the country have converted from sports councils to sports commission. Lagos, Delta, Kano, Gombe, Imo, Edo, Anambra, Cross River, and Kwara of late are states leading in this move, while Ogun and Oyo State are working on it.
When it existed, you saw the technical depth, the professionalism that was brought to bear. I'm not a minister that is averse to it.
They are able to drive sports at the grassroots level in terms of talent identification, talent development.
It provides a platform for sports professionals of different specializations.
Sport-loving governor of Kwara State, Abdurrahman Abrazak, for taking the bull by the horn in approving the takeoff of Kwara State Sports Commission.
In another development, the Confederations Cup tie between Nigeria's Rivers United and South Africa's Bloemfontein Celtic has been rescheduled for the weekend of 22 to 24th of January 2021. The second leg of the last 32 tie will now be played in neighboring Benin Republic, which has more lenient COVID-19 protocols for travelers arriving from South Africa. In Taekwondo, the president of the Nigerian Taekwondo Federation, Margaret Binga, says the year 2021 promises to be a great year for the federation, focusing on more intellectual training courses to improve the coaches, referees, and other officials to get the best out of the athletes.
Federation is going to do a lot of educational courses for the coaches, the athletes, the administrators, the referees, every member, everybody in the Nigerian Taekwondo community will benefit in one way or the other from the program's lineup.
With sports updates, Gift George, NTA News.
President Muhammadu Buhari and his wife Aisha Buhari mourn the passing of a family friend, Hajia Nafisatu Aminu Usman. The deceased was the wife of Lieutenant Colonel I.G. Usman, ADC to former President Shehu Shagari. In a message to the family, Adamawa royal family, as well as the government and people of the state, President Buhari expressed profound sympathy and condolences, describing Hajia Nafisatu as a sincere, trusted, and tireless family friend. The president prayed Allah to accept her soul and look after the family she left behind. The secretary to the government of the Federation has received with shock the news on the passing of Mai Tango, His Royal Majesty Dr. Abdul Buba Meshanu II, who died at the age of 72. In a message, the SGF condoles with the family, traditional council, and the entire Gombe state. He described the late monarch as an exemplary character and disposition who led a fulfilled life, word of emulation, and contributed immensely in promoting peace and unity in Tango land, as well as attracting remarkable progress and development to his chiefdom and the entire Gombe state. The SGF added that the paramount ruler was a devoted Christian and peacemaker who will be remembered for his enormous contribution to humanity. He prayed God Almighty to comfort and grant the family, traditional council and entire state the fortitude to bear the loss. Now time to take a quick peep at the weather prospects for Wednesday.
Hello, let's take a quick look at the weather forecast for Wednesday. We expect morning thunderstorms over the coastal parts of Akwa Ibom, leaving other southern cities in a cloudy and sunny atmosphere. The central and northern region are expected to be sunny and hazy. And this is how the rest of the day will look across the country. The central and north will experience same weather conditions as the morning hours. However, there are prospects of thunderstorms over parts of Ogun, Ondo, Edo, including parts of Akwa Ibom, Cross River, Rivers, Bayelsa, Delta, and Lagos. That's all for the weather forecast. I am Theodora Itu. Thank you for watching.
We must continue to speak up and act against rape and rapists. That's Network News tonight. Thank you for watching. Good night.
Our social media platforms: Facebook at NTA Network News, Instagram at NTA Network, Twitter at NTA News Now, YouTube at NTA News Online. All visit www.nta.ng. For live streaming, visit www.nta.ng/live. Now, you can stay updated on the go, be it on your TV, iPhone, laptop, or iPad, or download the NTA mobile application from your Play Store or App Store. NTA, you can beat the rich.
In the midst of the coronavirus pandemic, information management is key. I'm Cyril Stober.
Fatima Umar Buba.
Joseph Johnson.
Ian Ray John.
Muhammad Kudu Abubakar.
Jumbo Yusuf.
My name is Kirian Umaya. Here in NTA, we're working very hard to make sure that everything we broadcast is accurate and up to date. Misinformation spreads very fast.
The social media has been a huge conveyor of misleading information from one individual to another, then to another set of groups. In a short while, it goes viral, and before you know it, it is all over the world.
There have been several misleading information on coronavirus, COVID-19. Recently, the misconception of 5G as a cause of coronavirus is becoming widespread. Another is the belief that hot beverages and alcoholic drinks are internal cleanser for COVID-19, thereby leading to excessive consumption of these drinks.
The use of local concoctions as treatment for COVID-19 are yet to be scientifically proven. However, there has been several theories about the efficacies of these concoctions. We should stay safe and denounce all manner of fake news and misleading information on COVID-19.
For medical advice, go on the WHO website, Nigeria Center for Disease Control, NCDC website, or stick with the advisories from the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19 or other authentic official sources. NTA is one of them.
This is the network service of the NTA.
Do you know that social media is not good or bad, and that it is you who is using it that is either good or bad? Bad social media users spread rumors and fake news without verification. But good social media users stop, verify the information, and reflect before sharing it. Now, are you a good social media user? Stop the spread of fake news. Verify the authenticity of your source for a better Nigeria.
This message is from the National Orientation Agency.
Nigerian youths are about the greatest assets the country has at the moment. It is therefore not surprising that the administration of President Muhammadu Buhari is strategically responding to the yearnings of the youth through multiple projects and programs. Youth Entrepreneurship Support Years by Bank of Industry, the Youth Investment Fund by the CBN, and several other conditional cash transfer programs. Recruitment of 774,000 social workers, majority of whom are youth, and so many other projects that are beneficial to youths directly or indirectly. If the administration can do all this, definitely with a degree of patience and time, it can achieve more. Nigerian youths must come together to say no to terrorism, no to vandalism, and no to all disruptive tendencies. Hashtag Youth for Greater Nigeria. Pacifying the youths, unifying the nation.
The counsel of our fathers.
My advice to these young people is please do not take us back to those harrowing days. You probably do not know what it is.
Nigerian youths, let's build our nation together.
Here say them they rape about 35% of them girl picking, and even them women safe. Some of them they even die in the process. Emotional trauma uncle, it they make some of them be like say they no did this one again, they don't go, but they still they live like ghosts. Some of them shame don't kuku make them go kill themselves. It no good though. This no be our culture. It no fit be the African way. Why we can't allow this kind of thing join body with us so they loud where. If you know they fear law where man put, you know they fear Baba God there. You self, you where they cover mouth so you see many wanna they happen. You know why here when the Oyibo talk say problem where they bring come out, they solve and sharply. Remember, person wey feel rape, if it's a key person, if it be you, if it be your pikin, if it be person them where you love well. So make we learn they carry women then, like diamond where we be. No grief for rape.
Another day, another edition. Welcome to Dateline 360. On the last edition, we began the review of the different sectors of the economy and how they fared in spite of the coronavirus pandemic. As promised, we will continue with our review, and today we bring you more sectors hit by the coronavirus pandemic and other issues that defined 2020. My name is Omotala Omojola. Thanks for joining us. 2020 could indeed be said to be the year of the health sector. It was the year that proved the mettle of practitioners as some of the defenders of the nation, in line with the saying that a healthy nation is a wealthy nation. Health correspondent Rabi Abdallah in this package takes us through how the health sector, being the worst hit by the pandemic, fared and other chains of events that shaped the sector in 2020.
The coronavirus outbreak reported in Wuhan province of China at the tail end of 2019 spread so fast like wildfire to other countries of the world. The World Health Organization officially declared it as a pandemic in March 2020. On the 27th of February in the year under review, Nigeria announced its first case of COVID-19 and Italian national. That led to the stepping up of the federal government's efforts of prevention, containment, and other response strategies. For instance, from just 2 laboratories that could test for COVID-19 in the country, at the onset of the outbreak, the country moved to over 90 molecular laboratories located in all states of the Federation.
Powerful health systems almost came to their knees, and that made us to look into our own health system and look at the weaknesses.
Very early in the COVID outbreak, they were able to establish the genetic sequence of the COVID virus.
The second wave of the pandemic was to come on the heels of what was believed to have been controlled gains over it between the months of August and October.
The first reflection on this, given that we're still really in the middle of this pandemic, is how important it is to focus on health security as an existential threat.
The most topical issue around COVID-19 at the moment is the vaccines that scientists have been able to develop.
Nigeria and 91 other economies are plugged into the COVAX facility to make sure that some critical number of vaccines are made available to low and middle income countries like Nigeria.
Government has actually done well by directing the Central Bank of Nigeria to put forward a multi-billion naira grant for phytomedicines and vaccines research.
Nigeria is able to speak to the elimination of wild polio virus because the media played a central role in it. And same it will be for COVID-19.
2020 was not all about the coronavirus. There was a breath of fresh air as Nigeria became the last African country to be declared free from wild polio virus. Health insurance also received a boost following the formal launch of an initiative known as the Group Individual and Family Social Health Insurance Scheme, GIFSHIP. The unveiling of the roadmap to Nigeria's health sector development in 2021 and beyond is one of the opportunities the country is latching on to rebuild the Nigerian health system as it battles the second wave of COVID-19, as well as ensuring that the new strain of the virus, considered to be more virulent, does not find its way to the shores of the country. In Abuja, Rabi Abdallah, NTA News.
We have heard from Rabi Abdallah touching on the health sector. Let's now move over to another sector hit by the coronavirus pandemic in 2020, which is the education sector. Activities in educational institutions were reportedly halted in more than 190 countries of the world. Most education institutions in Nigeria had to resort to virtual teaching of pupils and students alike. But Olayinka Ojo reports that examination bodies in Nigeria still carried out their mandates. Let's hear from him.
16-year-old Muhammad Ado and 15-year-old Rahama Dalatu were looking forward to 2020 with excitement. It was a year that would define their lives. They were to write WAEC and NECO to complete secondary education and also write JAMB to proceed to tertiary level. Few months to this defining moment, however, everything stopped due to COVID-19 pandemic. Like every other student at every level of education dream, theirs were threatened and they were afraid of what will be their fate.
The normal WAEC questions, the school has prepared us for all this.
If you actually studied and listened in class and listened to what your teacher said, you hopefully pass this exam.
It was not only students that were in the dilemma. Authorities and examination bodies were also worried over how such an important criteria for admission into universities and other tertiary institutions, as well as employment requirements for many companies, will be determined. The postponed examinations as a result of COVID-19 and NSAS protests were conducted later in compliance with COVID-19 safety protocols. 70,580 candidates sat for the NECO National Common Entrance nationwide. 24,416 candidates scored the minimum requirement of 66%. This performance at the 2020 National Common Entrance Examination made the Council peg the national cutoff mark at 142. The Basic Education Certificate Examination had a total of 104,341 candidates who registered, while 169,144 registered for NECO's Senior Secondary Certificate Examination.
I'm so happy about it that finally we have write the exam.
The West African Examination Council recorded 86.99% success of candidates who obtained credits and above in a minimum of 5 subjects with or without English language or mathematics.
Out of the total number of candidates that sat the examination, 1,456,727 candidates, representing 94.69%, have their results fully processed and released.
The Joint Admissions and Matriculation Board, JAMB, in 2020 registered more than 2.1 million candidates for the 2020 UTME and direct entry. Of that number, 1.9 million registered for UTME, the highest recorded in 41 years. For JAMB, COVID-19 did not really affect the conduct of the examination. This is because the UTME examinations were slated between March 14th and April 4th. The board in the year 2020 blacklisted 41 CBT centers out of 692 centers used for examination based on issues such as registration, cyber fraud, extortion, and technical incompetence.
When you want more than one center, and one center out of 2 or 3 commits an offense, we will delist every center you own.
In the case of Teachers Professional Qualifying Examinations organized by the Teachers Registration Council of Nigeria, the year 2020 only saw the council conduct 2 diets as against the usual 3 diets. 17,602 candidates sat for the examination, which qualifies candidates as professional teachers, while 3,650 failed the exercise. COVID-19 may have had devastating impact on the education sector in Nigeria, but the examination bodies were able to conduct examinations in compliance with COVID-19 guidelines in 2020, a development that has allayed the fears of the likes of Muhammad Ado and Rahama Dalatu, who thought COVID-19 would derail their life's journey. Olainka Ojo for Dateline 360.
The history of Nigeria will also record 2020 for the Nigeria Police Force. It was indeed a challenging year for the force. The police not only had to deal with increased rate of crime and criminality following COVID-19 pandemic lockdown, but had to deal with the #EndSARS protest that resulted in violence and destruction of lives and properties. Security correspondent Francis Form has details about the sector in the year under review.
A typical response of the police for distress call, which came too many in 2020. Despite all these challenges, the police began the year on a high note, penetrating into the hideout of notorious bandits in Bernangwari in Kaduna State, inflicting a serious damage, reclaiming many public space from criminal elements.
We were able to dislodge the place, destroy the camp, and kill many of them because we have the right equipment that we needed to confront them.
The much-awaited trust fund to bridge funding gap in the force finally came into reality, with President Muhammadu Buhari establishing it to assist in meeting the operational requirements and logistics need of the force. The process of recruiting 10,000 police personnel annually to meet the manpower needed by the force to curtail insecurity across the country began in the year under review. The Police Act was amended and signed into law, giving rise to the creation of an additional department, 5 zonal commands, and autonomy of the Force Intelligence Bureau. The COVID-19 pandemic necessitated police response to public health emergencies, just as it has been involved in the enforcement efforts to control the disease, promote safer communities, and fight criminals who see the outbreak as an opportunity to carry out their activities.
I'm happy to say that the police have given in their best in spite of all the challenges last year, and we do hope that Nigerians will continue to support the police.
Cases of rape and other violence against women rose sharply in the year under review, prompting a meeting between the police and other critical stakeholders to wage war against the menace.
We need to re-strategize in order to see that we don't give gap to the offenders.
Community policing was adopted by the federal government as a community-based internal security management to complement the Nigeria police in all components, so as to allow the communities some levels of participation in securing themselves. Protests from the citizens in the year 2020 on the excesses of SARS operatives, the police chief admitted, is a demonstration of how oriented the contemporary police force has turned out to be. The agitations has, however, led to the creation of special weapons tactics.
Government will continue to do whatever is possible to ensure that you perform creditably.
The pioneer sets of constabulary that will serve as community policing officers passed out after weeks of training at the Police Training College, Kaduna. Capacity of the personnel of the force was also strengthened in 2020 to tackle the dynamics of crimes and to contend the increasing threats of internal security. The Nigeria Police Force Interpol units, through a collaborative efforts with their Nigerian counterparts, arrested fugitive Abdurrashid Maina, former chairman of the Presidential Task Force on Pension Reforms in the Republic of Niger, after jumping bail to avert prosecution. The police in 2020 also achieved the feat of arresting 2 suspects involved in the kidnap of a U.S. citizen, Philip Nathan Walton. For Dateline 360, Francis Form.
While some sectors regressed in the year 2020, progress defined some others. Transport and maritime correspondent Oyinaya Kalu-Oka describes the development of the rail sector as a moving force with records of remarkable achievements despite the pandemic. She, however, reports that it was a mixed experience for the blue economy in Nigeria in the year 2020 as the arrival of the coronavirus brought the good, the bad and the ugly into the maritime sector.
They are two generations apart with several differences, but one thing in common: lovers of train ride. The transformation drive in the sector has made great impact on them. Washidu Mukarim and 8-year-old Amira Jutubo are regular passengers at the Abuja Kaduna train stations.
I take Abuja Kaduna train so far not less than 60-70 times.
And I can see mountains, I can see trees.
The story of these two lovers of train rides captures the impact of the transformation drive in the sector and achievements in the year 2020. Take the case of Itakpe Ajokuta Warri rail line spanning 3 states of Kogi, Edo and Delta. Inaugurated this year 2020 after 3 decades of delay.
It is glorious. It is victory for Nigeria.
Another success story is the Lagos-Ibadan standard gauge rail line, which despite the lockdown of COVID-19 was completed and now test running to be inaugurated soon.
Very pleasant. I'm so impressed.
The Abuja Kaduna train service continued to gain acceptance. 2 more locomotives and 10 coaches were added to the rail line.
A few years after independence, we lost it on the railways. So it took a lot of courage and sense of responsibility for the government to really sit down and work out a strategy to put back the railways.
In 2020, it was sharing news at the Federal Executive Council meeting for the rail development. Several approvals were granted for the construction, rehabilitation and reconstruction of the Port Accord Maiduguri Eastern Narrow Gauge Railway, construction of a rail line linking Kano to Maradi in Niger Republic, and construction of a Ibadan Kano rail line, as well as the Abuja Itakpe Lokoja rail line.
Track Park will cost $389.31 million at no cost to the federal government. I want to repeat that.
The new lines we are opening now are tailored to form a network that will really support economy of the country.
We thank the Minister for Transport for looking at it with enthusiasm.
It was not just sharing news, as the railway sector was not exempted from COVID-19. For about 5 months, train stations were shut down across the country. Construction works were delayed and number of workforce reduced. In the year 2020, the Nigerian maritime sector was set for a reform, but the unexpected COVID-19 took the blue economy unaware. With COVID-19 came the lockdown, which crippled activities in the sector across the globe.
So we kind of disorganized every working arrangement, every plan most agencies had in place.
So COVID is like a slap in the face. While you are having, sleeping, enjoying yourself, somebody will just slap you.
In Nigeria, to cater for the essential needs, the port was operating with strict adherence to protocol in compliance with the President's directive. With the easing of the lockdown, the maritime sector picked up gradually as federal government continues to develop it. To ensure fair trade in the maritime, efforts were doubled in sanitizing the industry. Transforming the industry and digitizing it was given top priority. Reviving the Onitsha port, abandoned for about 42 years, was said to be a major achievement.
We've not talked about even the employment is going to create, the employment opportunities. We've not even looked at the tourism potentials. We've not also looked at the economic impact on the communities we are going to have stopovers before they get to their final destination, which is Onitsha.
Still on decongesting the ports, construction work for the railway line linking the port is at advanced stage. Issues of transparency, providing alternative means of transportation, cleaning up waterways and completion of the Lekki Deep Sea Port took center stage.
The icing of the cake in the maritime industry, many say, was revenue generation. In the midst of COVID-19, the Nigerian Port Authority announced an improved revenue of about 1.02 trillion in the space of 3 years.
There was a perception that MPA is a cash cow for political machinery, and being here now, we have completely, I would say, eroded that. Beyond instituting measures, what was needed was more like compliance of existing regulatory provisions.
Like every other sector, the maritime was hit by the pandemic as major operations were suspended, thereby experiencing setbacks and revenue reduction. Similarly, the Nigerian Port Authority lost about 1 billion naira to NSAS protests. The challenge of port congestion persists despite federal government efforts. With COVID-19 still persisting, stakeholders maintain that adaptability and innovations are key factors in moving the maritime sector forward in Nigeria in the year 2021.
The Nigerian entertainment industry has been a money spinner for the nation. The sector, as the name goes, also provides different means of unwinding for many in concerts and shows, with awards to reward some of the best in the sector. How did the industry do in 2020? Let's hear from Ekemini Williams.
2020 was the year that many of Nigeria's entertainment superstars were geared for major breakthroughs, from international tours to the Grammys. But none of this was to be. The coronavirus pent industry, straddling Nollywood, music, fashion, and much more, was terribly hit.
It's serious stuff, man. This corona thing is serious. People take it serious, you know.
Thousands of Nigerians live off this industry, formally and informally. For them all, 2020 was like a horror movie.
When people normally do come to club to park their cars like that, at least we do help them, being as the security in here, to like help them park their cars. Aside that, they will come out, find us small things like that we do eat. Aside
no sales, we had to drop some staffs, many things. But the festive period and the dropping of the lockdown actually brought good to us. We were able to meet up a bit.
Concerts, award and fashion shows, new movies and much more. All of this did not hold in a manner we are used to because of COVID-19. This was part of the cost to the Nigerian entertainment industry, but it was much more. At the individual level, music stars such as Wizkid, Davido, Adekule Gold, and even gospel music star Sinach had international tours billed for the first quarter of 2020. For stars who earn about $1 million per show, you can imagine what that means. It was not just a personal loss for them, but for their manager, band members, dancers, and the entire crew. This was the same sad song many in the creative industry sang. The COVID-19 occasioned lockdown led to a hold in film and TV productions, causing lost earnings estimated in millions of dollars from mid-February 2020.
I usually produce like more than 10 movies in a year, but last year I only did 3.
It was tragic for Nollywood, which employs over 1 million people and contributes about 1.4% to Nigeria's GDP.
I know you need assistance. My neighbor no get job. I treat them like my brothers and my sisters. If we collect account number, credit them for instance.
Every facet of the entertainment industry was hit hard. For an industry that usually brings people together in close proximity, the new culture of keeping people at a distance spelled disaster. As the world embraced a new normal of social distancing, all actors in the entertainment industry had to innovate to find a new niche to survive within the new normal.
The show must go on COVID-19 or no COVID-19.
And live cinemas to concerts, Nigerian artists used the easing of the lockdown to creatively introduce new dimensions into their industry. This has changed the face of the entertainment industry. Much has moved to the digital space. From movies to music, Nigeria's billion-dollar entertainment industry is going virtual. The Nigerian Festival of Arts and Culture and the Zuma Film Festival were held in 2020, but the character was different. This is the new normal as the entertainment industry seeks how to turn the horror movie that 2020 was into a 2021 sequel with hopefully a happy ending. Talk of rising from the lows of 2020 to find new heights in 2021. Ekemini Williams reporting for Dateline 360.
And with that package, we conclude this edition of the program, hoping to be with you same time next week. On behalf of the production crew, we say thank you for your time.
Hello, thanks for joining us on the program tonight. I am Omini. The Nigerian Armed Forces consist majorly of the Army, Air Force, and Navy. It remains the backbone of national security, especially in external aggression. The Armed Forces also has a mandate to protect the nation's territorial integrity and secure its borders from isolation on land, sea, and air. The military have from time been playing the vital role not only on external aggression but also in internal security challenges. The role of Nigerian armed forces in Liberia, Sierra Leone, Sudan, among others, will never be forgotten in history. And just some years back, the Homeland Security reared its ugly head. There are issues of Boko Haram, kidnapping, terrorism, and other vices. The inevitability brought the military into internal security matters in the country. Boko Haram, for instance, took hold of 10 local government areas in the northeast part of Nigeria as of 2015. But as of today, no territory in Nigeria is under the control of Boko Haram. The Niger Delta issue is there, with military playing vital roles to stem the vice of militancy. The armed forces of Nigeria have indeed been up and doing despite challenges, securing the country, and remains the principal unifying force in the country. But first, this background are put together by Ismail Musa.
From the top of different monopole towers, from the sky and from different waterways across the country, troops of the Nigerian Army, Navy and Air Force maintain constant eagle eye on Nigeria and Nigerians. Despite these efforts, records show that the nation's security architecture was not encouraging before the coming of the present administration in 2015. In the northeast, for instance, Boko Haram killed and displaced thousands of people, destroyed property worth billions of naira, and held 14 local government areas in the region hostage, while terror attacks were extended to the Federal Capital Territory and Kano.
One will not appreciate today when he could not recall what happened yesterday. We sleep with our eyes open.
Militancy and kidnapping disrupted oil exploration and business activities in the Niger Delta region, while farmer headers crisis overwhelmed the people of the North Central. The renewed vigor of the armed forces, induced by strong political will of the present administration, paved way for improved funding and procurement of equipment for the military, enhanced training and coordination of security operations, while the multinational Joint Task Force in Chad revived to support ongoing counter-insurgency operations. It is about 5 years now. The outlook has changed. No local government area under terrorist occupation. Reconstruction and resettlement at advanced stage in the Northeast.
Used to follow Gombe, Numan, Uba, Chibok before we reach Domba. Sometimes we used to spend 3 days. Sometimes it takes us 2 days. But now with the opening of this road, in 45 minutes, 1 hour, we reach our destination.
Exploration and business activities unhindered in the south.
What we saw, a lot of work was done in not only flushing out these criminals, but ensuring that our oil facilities, our key national assets are protected.
Despite upscale tempo of operations, there were low moments where troops paid the supreme sacrifice in the cause of protecting Nigerians. The urgent task before the security agencies, as highlighted by people interviewed, is to eradicate terrorists hibernating mostly in parts of Borno State and the fringes of the Lake Chad. Current wave of banditry and kidnapping in parts of Katsina, Kaduna, Zamfara, Sokoto, and some major routes across the country. Similarly, it is critical for the public to desist from hoarding information and harboring criminals in the quest to succeed in the fight against criminality. Ismail Musa, NTA News.
National security is the focus once again on Tuesday Live tonight. At some point, our phone lines will be open, and if you are told to you, please turn down the volume of the television set and make your input go straight to the point. No need rigmarole. In doing this, please turn down the volume of your set to avoid the callback. Also, you can be part of the conversation tonight through our Twitter handle at Tuesday Live NTA. Armed forces and national security is the focus of the program tonight. I have joining us here is Major General Ahmed Tijani Jibrin, retired Special Advisor Technical to the Minister of Defense. He is also former GOC 2 Division Ibadan, also former Director of Military Intelligence. Welcome to Tuesday Live.
Thank you very much, Emini.
Also tonight we have Dr. Kabil Adamu, Risk Management and Intelligence Expert, Managing Director, Beacon Consulting Limited. Welcome to the program.
Thank you, Omeni. Good evening.
Okay, joining us from, also here in Abuja we have Dr. Ali Ibrahim Abbas. Dr. Ali Ibrahim Abbas is a peace, security and development expert. Also former head of department, political and science and administration, Yobe State University. Good to see you on the program.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yours is Brigadier General John Temlong, first commander of the Multinational Joint Task Force and the former president of the Alumni Association of National Defense College. He is also a security consultant. Good to have you on the program tonight.
Thank you for having me. Good evening.
So let's begin. Well, a lot will be asking, what are we going to look at tonight, given the challenges all over the place, but still something. Armed forces and national security. Can we just look at it holistically? The primary strategic role of the armed forces in Nigeria.
Well, the armed forces of Nigeria is established by the Constitution of the Federal Republic, and the primary role is for the armed forces to take care of the territorial integrity of the country all threats coming from external, the armed forces is to take care of it. And also, it is the responsibility of the armed forces to come to the aid of the civilians when the needs arises and when authorized by the commander-in-chief of the armed forces. Occasionally, this happens. What is happening right now, because we have little or no external aggression, we find our armed forces engaged in dealing with internal security situation as approved by the commander-in-chief of the armed forces. That is why you see the preponderance of the military at the northeast dealing with insurgency, the military northwest dealing with banditry, kidnapping and so on at the north central, dealing with also all sorts of banditry and kidnapping and other criminal activities at the south-south, dealing with criminal elements trying to defraud Nigeria of the oil, wealth, and the criminal elements that are perpetrating all kinds of heinous crime to ensure that there is no peace in that area. So these responsibilities are responsibilities that are enshrined in the Constitution. They are not responsibilities that the military asks and say, give me. The military is not actually trained for all those kind of threats. The military is trained to fight an external enemy. In other words, the military is not to fight people it protects. It's supposed to protect the country against external aggression. And the Nigerian military has also been called to duty in support of sister countries like Liberia and Sierra Leone, Congo, and so many other countries in the world. In Sudan, Nigerians soldiers gave good account of themselves. So the role of the military is more or less becoming ubiquitous now, because nowadays you hear the military even getting involved in dealing with cultists, dealing with petty criminals because of the problem the Nigeria police is having and other security agencies. So we can look at the military now as the lead agency in practically every aspect of national defense and every aspect of national security.
Okay, thank you so much. Dr. Kabiru Adamu, listening to Major General Ahmed Tijani speak, he has given us the primary goal of the armed forces in Nigeria. But a lot of persons today, any slightest provocation, they forget that we have primary institutions that are supposed to handle this, called the military. Let's hear your perspective.
Yes, it is a function of our history. And in that history, we would also bring up the role of the military. In our over the course of our history, we've had longer years actually of military rule than civilian rule, and definitely that has impacted on how the public sees the military. I mean, there was a time when the average Nigerian does not see any politician but the military as the leader, and to that extent, I think that has also impacted, of course, on the role of the military in the country. That's one. On the other hand, the effectiveness with which the military has carried out some of the responsibilities that has been given to it has also made it the #1 agency, like General Tijani has mentioned. I'm aware that there are certain state governors, as an example, that you don't dare withdraw the military once they are deployed to their states, because as far as they are concerned, if you withdraw the military, then perhaps it would sequel a breakdown of law and order in that particular state. Now, is that a reality or a perception? So that is where I think our history comes into play, because as it's been agreed, and as General Tijani has mentioned, the core responsibility of the military is protection from external aggression. Yes, they have a function in internal insurrection, and then in certain instances where the commander-in-chief and the president directs them to become involved. But we are in a situation at the moment in 2021 where there is virtually no state in Nigeria that the military is not implementing one or the other form of operation. In fact, at the last count, we were told that they were involved in 34 states of the Federation. And I mean, the most interesting aspect of this involvement is some operations that were meant to be short-term stopgap operations that, as it were, today have turned into long-term operations. The good example I'll give is Operation Safe Haven in the plateau that has now been extended into southern Kaduna, which has been ongoing for more than a decade at the moment. So that perhaps reflects the way the average Nigerian sees the military as a result of this history, and on the other hand, as a result of the heavy reliance on the military in the performance of both our defense as well as security strategies, as it were.
Dr. Ali Ibrahim, you are a peace, security and development expert. Now, from the perspective we have heard from Major General Jibrin and Dr. Adamu, let me give you this quote from a scholar. It says, military involvement in the internal security operations is inevitable as the need for higher level of aggression continues to reveal itself. Although this has been the case ever since Nigeria was formed, and it also continued throughout the colonial period, the recent occurrence of terrorism witnessed in the country has further justified the need for military participation in internal security operations. How do you juxtapose this?
Well, actually, if you look at the current security challenge that we have in Nigeria, it's something that is quite overwhelming, especially if you look at the magnitude and the quantity of the attacks and, the bombs and everything that keeps happening every day, especially in the Northeast region. I will say that the normal police architecture, which has been traditionally known to be responsible for such kind of securing lives and properties within civil populace, is no longer tenable. So I think the Nigeria and its government have to look into the reality, and the reality is that the current insurrection and the insurgency that has been taking place over a decade now is something that is quite telling, that the police in itself cannot be able to contain. And I think this is the main reason why, like it's been mentioned earlier by General Andok, that the President and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces had to deploy the military, especially to be in such areas where you have a high level of insecurity that is currently happening. By and large, if you look at what is happening in the Northeast region, although it could be termed as internal challenge of insurgency, but you still have external forces as one of the reasons why we are having this Boko Haram insurgency lingering. I will give you an example. If you look at Borno, Yobe, you have thousands of square kilometers that is bordering Niger, Cameroon, and Chad. These are all international borders in Nigeria with these international countries. And sometimes the Boko Haram usually moves around this territory that is very, very difficult to be manned, especially of its porous nature. It's really very difficult to be able to man these areas. So because of this influx of what actually happened, in Libya, in other countries, the influx of the military, the influx of weapons and ammunitions and what have you has given so much pressure that the police in itself cannot be able to contend that. And I think this is the main reason why the army had to look at the current reality. It has to move in. It has to work very, very hard to be able to address some of these challenges that we have as a result of Boko Haram insurgency. For those of us that have lived in this part of Nigeria, we have seen how the military in itself has been overstretched with the rampant, cases of attacks and the rest. And I think for quite some time now, we can say there is surely an improvement in terms of securing lives and property, especially in the northeastern region, if you compare it to what has been happening previously.
Thank you so much, Dr. Abbas. Now, let's go to Jos, where Brigadier General John Temlong joining us from Jos Network Center. When we hear the slightest provocation, so much condemnation of the Nigerian armed forces, and we just heard Dr. Abbas talk about being overstretched, are we saying that the Nigerian armed forces is not up and about?
Thank you very much. I think the perception actually sometimes by the citizens is that the military, because they are overstayed outside and they have got too close to them, is that they have not been carrying out or they have been preventing the bad people from doing what they want to do. And so the easiest way is to start by accusing the military of being overbearing or of fundamental rights and the rest. But unfortunately, the people who are law-abiding and those who actually want to live in peace know the major role that the military has been playing to keep them in peace and to sleep. Dr. Kabiru mentioned Operation Safe Haven here in Jos. I tell you, I live in Jos, and the moment they started drawing down the troops from within the town, there was a lot of hue and cry that there was going to be a crisis. And so they had to maintain some visible presence within the town. And and those of us who are here know what the sort of bloodbath that has been going on here. I think it's part of the situation that the police as an institution has been overstretched. Two, they have not had the sort of training that the military is used to subject their own personnel to. And so the institution itself has not been built properly. And so the military as an instrument of state policy is usually the only available instrument that the government has at its disposal to use as an instrument of choice to bring back peace to the citizens. And the training of military officers these days and their role as enshrined even in the defense policy and in international, according to the UN, is to protect civilians first when you deploy them. To protect the citizens. It's not just to protect the state, no. And that's why the concept of national security has shifted from the state-centric to a people-centric paradigm. And so the military itself is taught and they are trained to protect the citizens first, not to fight the citizens. And like General Jibril said, it's not something that the military will want because you are trained to fight the enemy of the state, for you to turn the weapon against your citizens. But the changing nature of warfare itself now, since the end of the Second Cold War, has made it that there has been less interstate conflicts, like country-to-country fighting. You have more non-state actors now fighting, and technology has even made it more with cyber warfare and the rest, terrorism, enemies without borders, they move freely. And the Arab Spring foiled our own crisis here. And so you found out that even after the Arab Spring, you found out that it was ISIS that tried to occupy the space in Syria and Iraq. They started to continue moving back. So you hardly have state crisis or conflict between states now. But non-state actors who are as powerful and challenge standing armies. They were able to challenge the standing armies in Iran, Iraq, Syria, Afghanistan, here in Nigeria, and were it not for the intervention of the US and others, I'm sure Iraq would have been gone by now, Syria would have been gone. And so for the Nigerian army to, or Nigerian armed forces to have even held their own and withstand the onslaught of the Boko Haram, ISIS, or ISWAP, they have done so much, so well, because it's not easy. What we are fighting is what we call the slow, messy war. It's a warfare that people will think will end very easily. No, it is a population-centric operation. It is an asymmetric warfare. And so it is a very difficult and a messy situation. It's one of what we call complex military operations. And so citizens must exercise some patience. They want a quick fix. There is no quick fix to this sort of situation, because what the terrorists are doing is they are using force and coercion to control and influence the population. The government is doing same to try and control and influence the population. And it is this population that the terrorists and insurgents live with. It is the same population, people that the bandits, the kidnappers, they live with. And so until you are able to control and influence the population to that extent, it's going to be very difficult for you to keep a tab on these bad people who live within you, dress like you, eat with you, and speak the same language with you, and then at the same time they are planning to do harm to you. So these are some of these complex things that we are dealing, that sometimes Nigerians must exercise patience and understand that the nature of what we are dealing with is so complex. It's not just the elements of hard power that can be used to achieve that, but the soft power component is very essential to be able to achieve this. So I believe that the military, they have been doing their best, given the situation under which they find themselves, being outstretched. In some cases, the population are not cooperating. In some cases, they are being betrayed by the population because they give intelligent information about them to the terrorists, and that's why you have a lot of ambushes here and there when they go out for operations, and they kill a lot of them and the rest. So you see, these are very complex things that we are dealing with, and unless until the population itself, which is now which should be harnessed to be part and parcel of this operation, because what we have is that a country, as a country, there is a complete breakdown of the social order. People do not even obey the laws again, and the police are overstretched, and in the absence of law, anarchy sets in. Where there is a strong person, he forms up his own army or his own terrorist group, and you see him operating within an area, having an area, freely doing whatever they want, without the population fighting, standing his own. The population must defeat them first. Then the security forces will be able to help them and defeat them. But while the population has given up, or while the population is part and parcel, or with aiding and abetting the bad people, it's going to be difficult. You can bring the best armed forces in the world. Americans are having problems in Afghanistan. Iraq is the same problem they had, because unless the population cooperate with you, unless the population is part and parcel of your efforts, unless the population itself decides that they will defeat the threat, it's going to be very difficult. So I urge Nigerians, and I think Nigerians will definitely have to give some support to the armed forces. It's not quick. It's so demoralizing sometimes. Every time they are the ones to be kicked here and there. And you can imagine, like somebody said, the Operation Safe Haven is almost permanency. There are some of these child who have been in the mission area for years. Their families are languishing. They are in very terrible weather, operated in that place. The mosquitoes there are as good as flies. The extremities of the weather, in the night is so cold, daytime is so hot, and the rest. And then the next minute is that you have a population that the national will is not behind you, as if you are just being patriotic for just yourself. So I think we need to change that mindset. The national will has to be behind the military, and so that we will be able to get the encouragement and know that the nation is behind them. During the Civil War, the national will was behind the armed forces. You can see what national will happened during the COVID, where COVID came up and raised so much money and resources to fight COVID. Have we had that sort of cooperation for the military openly? I'm sure by now we would have defeated these insurgents. During the Civil War, Nigerian breweries was producing beer for the armed forces with their label. Guinness was producing stout with the armed forces label, taking them to the hospitals to provide for sick people or those who even donate blood. Some states were sending cows to the troops in the front for feeding. Nigerians were given vehicles to convey troops to the front line, and even accommodation were given free to troops wherever they were living. So the national will was behind the troops, and I think we need to galvanize that national will now, so that once it is galvanized, those who want to challenge the state will find out that, look, the population itself is behind the state. So I think we need to do those sort of things. Thank you.
Thank you so much, General Temlong. Well, he has raised a couple of issues. The one that is very touchy is the very last one, the need for people to see it, armed forces own it, be part of it, and what have you. And recently, it looks as though the people are a bit detached from the armed forces. We used to hear something like civil-military relations.
Exactly.
Can we talk briefly on that before we take some reports?
Okay. It is very important for us to understand what General Temlong is trying to put across. The national support is very, very important in any fight of this nature, especially the fact that we are not dealing with an external enemy. We are dealing with enemy within us. So these are people that have their kith and kins. So if these people are being regarded as part and parcel of us, and then their own people are looking at the military as the aggressors who are actually killing their kids and kin, especially what is happening at northeast and northwest. Because if you go over what General Talon said, the idea that our troops are being ambushed based on information given by the locals, this is a daily occurrence. You know, the military has suffered a lot from the beginning. You know, when the deployment was everywhere to protect every nook and cranny in the northeast in particular during the early stage of fighting the insurgency, the military suffered a lot of casualties because most of their locations were being dislodged by the Boko Haram insurgents. And a lot of casualties were sustained in terms of equipment and men. So this type of problem actually push the military to adopt a new strategy, which is the super camp strategy, which involves the pooling of large resources, men and equipment in a strategic place to form a well-defended place so that the force protection is enhanced. So now it's largely a defensive kind of operation, but the problem the military is facing is the cooperation of the locals. Most of the time, if they want to go aggressive, they have to go on aggressive patrol, fighting patrols. And when they go out on the patrols, the locals tell the Boko Haram, who are part of their kids, and then the Boko Haram now allow our troops to go and capture fowl, because they got wrong information. They have already told them, leave the place, the military is coming. And then when they are coming back, the Boko Haram ambush them. So it's all this lack of cooperation from the locals. So owning the military, first of all, start from the locals that are living within the area of operation. And this, the government has a serious responsibility to play. Because if the governors of these states where these crises are going on are actually coming out to also show full support, not just in buying the military equipment or anything like that, but actually mobilizing their people to let them know that, look, this military is our only source of protection. And if they are going to win this war, we have to give them maximum support. I'm not expert in determining how well governors can mobilize their people, but I know in some easier way is the government should ensure that the basic responsibilities they are supposed to provide for their people, they provide them. Simple issue of creating job opportunities to engage the youths, providing them with the basic amenities, water, light, and also assisting them in their agricultural activities and other engagements. These are basic things the government can do to mobilize the people. So if the people feel that the government is looking after them and that they know that the soldiers are from government, so they will feel part and parcel of the effort. So this kind of thing is very, very important, especially in the frontline states. If you go to Katsina, the same problem. All the bandits that are terrorizing people in Katsina, Zamfara, and Kaduna State, they are not from Anambra or Oyo State. These are people from that state. And these are people from the local areas. And the local people, the traditional rulers, all of them, they know all of them. In fact, somebody hit his chest and said that there is no family around Katsina and Zamfara that there is no bandit. So if that is the case, then it means that if we really need to assist the soldiers, the first thing to do is to ensure that these people play their own natural role. They should be loyal to the cause of this country. They should also take risk. We know some of them pay dearly by helping to give information about to the military, about the movement of the bandits. Some of them suffered seriously, but this is their own role they also have to play. They have to come out boldly and play it and support the military. And also in the process, they may suffer casualty. So this type of thing is very important. The government are supporting some vigilantes which are actually helping, like the civilian JTF in Borno. They have been doing very well with the military, and the government there have been supporting them with finances and logistics. So this type of thing should also be emulated by the state governors in the northwestern part of, northwestern part of the country, because if they do, they will realize that it's going to be a force multiplier, because the military alone cannot deal with the situation. So it is said it's supposed to be a whole agency approach, it's supposed to be a whole government approach. No, it's entirely a whole nation approach. So that is why we need to mobilize support for the military. As has been said, during the Civil War, a lot of people that matter came out and assisted the military in various ways. So we need to see this kind of thing taking place now. We need to see our rich people, our influential people, creating a situation where the military can be supported in cash and kind. It's not as if the government is not providing funds for some of these things, but the support from these categories of people, no doubt, will give encouragement to the soldiers. They will feel that, yes, all our people are with us. The traditional rulers have a very huge role to play, because they are the rallying point of their people. And if they are seen to be preaching the support for the military, most of their people will do. The religious leaders, in fact, they are the ones that have the greatest pull, because when they climb the pulpit and they tell their people, this is what you should do, all of them take it with serious fervor. So there is need for all these people to come out and then give their own support, so that we not only rush and criticize the military, but give them support. Another very, very important block which has to do something as quickly as possible is the press, the media. It is very, very unfortunate that whenever the Nigerian military suffer casualties, within the next few seconds, all over in the media is there. Nigerian military suffered this, Nigerian military suffered that. And then if, look at what happened recently in Maiduguri when those farmers were killed. Look at the publicity this thing was given, making say the military doesn't know what it's doing, the military has woefully failed, and people fail to realize that this type of situation are isolated situations. They need to be able to find out where is the nearest location of the military. And if they don't know, they don't need to start passing comments. These are places where there are no motorable roads. In fact, before the military could reach those places, they had to use these agricultural tractors. At some point, they have to trek to go to the place to really find out what is happening. So there is no way the military can succeed alone. The entire population has to be behind the military, and the media should please lead this effort, because if the reportage is favorable, but this type of celebrative reportage that our media do, when the military suffer heavy casualty, you see all kind of casual reporting, celebrative reporting, making it look as if they are actually happy that it happened, that the military is not up to the task. So this type of thing will never help the military, and so there is need for all to put hands on deck to ensure that we support our military so that they can succeed in protecting lives and property in this country. Thank you.
Thanks for the perspective. Let's go to Dr. Adamu. Dr. Adamu, still from the perspective of kinetic and non-kinetic action by the Nigerian Armed Forces, listening to Major General Tijani Jibrin speak, it looks as though most often we don't tend to wear the toga of what the armed forces are going through as a people from the perspective of patriotism. How do you amplify this?
The Nigerian military is probably, if not the most patriotic institution in the country, one of the, if you're counting 10, it will probably come among the first 3. And there are several reasons for this statement. It fought to maintain the unity of this country. That's the most visible example of that. Then severally, it has had to intervene to keep maintain the unity of this country over our history. If you are talking of one of the most educated institutions in the country, it is the military. If you are talking of one of the most disciplined institutions within the country, it is the military. So to that extent, I think the question of patriotism of the Nigerian military does not even arise. But, and allow me to play the devil's advocate here, are there bad eggs within the military? The answer is yes. Has the military made some mistakes over the course of our history? Yes. Are those mistakes being addressed? Yes. And I think this is perhaps some of the things I would like to mention. When General Tenlong and General Jibrin mentioned that the military has been unable to win the hearts and minds of the people in the Northeast and the Northwest, I'm worried, because as the bloody civilian that I am, there is no way you win an insurgency or an insurrection if you are not able to win the hearts and minds of the people. And as a researcher, the answer is clear to us that are standing on the other side of the road. What is the reason? Clearly, the people do not understand to a larger extent the defense strategy, the national security strategy that we're trying to implement. And there are a lot of reasons for this. We have some very beautiful policies, but unfortunately we haven't been able to translate those policies down to the average person on the street. As an example, we've spoken about the kinetic and non-kinetic components of our counterinsurgency operation. Very few people, in fact, surprisingly, including governors, are aware that we do have a countering violent extremism framework, which encapsulates the non-kinetic framework of our counterinsurgency operation. And that countering violent extremism framework talks about all the things that General Jibrin has been mentioning, the role of the press, the role of clerics, the role of even the market woman. But because that framework has not been translated down to the average citizen, not many people even understand it. So I think that is where I would advise going forward, we look closely at how do we translate those beautiful documents, those policies, into implementation frameworks that would allow the average Nigerian to understand the role of the military. That's number one. Number two, there are about 27 ministries, departments, and agencies that are involved in security in Nigeria. Why are we overemphasizing the role of the military? Now, the theme of our discussion is the military and national security. Now, if we are de-emphasizing the role of the other 23 agencies, as it were, 24 agencies, then we'll probably never achieve the successes that we want to achieve. Let's use the Northeast as an example. You want to exercise the principle of take, hold, and rebuild. So what parts of those principles will the military be playing? Currently, and the two generals can correct me if I'm wrong, I think the military is actually playing all the three roles. And that's not feasible in a situation where the military is stretched. So that overbearing, aspect of the military, which unfortunately is a function of our history, needs to be reduced. They need to also give some of this responsibility to the other agencies so that they can support the role that they are playing. And more importantly, allow these other agencies to drive some of the narratives. So, as an example, when we say some people are, sabotaging the efforts of the military, the question is, okay, where is the role of the other agencies that are supposed to harvest intelligence, gather intelligence, and then provide this intelligence to the military to prevent that type of sabotage? So it speaks questions around coordination, around, synergy between the security agencies. And that brings me to the point. The several security councils, the National Defense Council, the National Security Council, and the several other councils, they are not sitting as they used to be in the past. And if they were, some of these issues that have been mentioned perhaps will have been addressed. And so that for me would be what I would advise we look forward. In terms of aspects, practical aspects of trying to address these issues, I think the President Buhari administration has done quite well. Earlier on, you asked the question around civil-military relations, and I'm aware that SIMCOT levels are quite active. If you go to Borno as an example, there is a very active SIMCOT unit, as it were. Then in almost all the states of the Federation, there are very active SIMCOT units. The kind of humanitarian support that I see the military playing has also increased in the last few years since President Buhari came to power. But then these are all rules being done by the military. What of the other 23 agencies? That, for me, would be the way to go. If we do that, then we will probably be able to win the hearts and minds of the people, and that would reduce the kind of dislink that we currently have between the citizenry and the military.
Adamu, let's go to Dr. Ali Ibrahim Abbas. Dr. Ali Ibrahim Abbas. Now, intelligence sharing is key in what we are discussing. The military, the armed forces, they are covering a lot of mileages despite teaching problems. But there remains a problem when we discuss the issue of looking at or rejigging the Nigerian security architecture. The problem of the security agencies like Dr. Kabiru Adamu has spoken, working in silos has been a problem. How do you address this?
Well, actually, I think what Dr. Kabiru has rightly mentioned is one of the key issues and challenges that the current insurgency especially is facing in the northeastern region. Let me also make this very clear. I live in the northeast. I used to for at least all my life, and I'm beginning this Boko Haram insurgency, especially to its peak, 2009 to date. So we have been through quite a lot, and we know how, for instance, communities give prior information, to the military, in terms of the sight of this Boko Haram around. But sometimes this information are not usually taken seriously in terms of addressing some of these issues. Now, I know of many communities who have to run for their lives to live where they used to live because of sighting these boys around. But at the end of the day, when such information are given, is it because of the army are overstretched, or is it because there's not quite enough ammunition and arms or what have you? I cannot really understand. You see such occurrences happening. But more importantly, I will say, more especially in the Northeast where I live, there is quite an improvement in terms of synergy and collaboration between communities, and the military in terms of engagement, in terms of activities, in terms of even local community activities that you see happening, taking place every day. What is more important, however, is that the military, like it has been rightly mentioned by Dr. Adamu, need to do more in terms of winning the hearts and minds of the people, especially the ordinary people. What ordinary people usually see is the aggressions, especially when you have attacks of Boko Haram or incidents, what transpired after that, the backlash with the local communities sometimes is not really nice, and the people will feel they find themselves like in the midst of crossfire. It's either the military, the security, or it's either the army. But if really at all there is any synergy and collaboration between the ordinary citizens and the security in terms of working together and collaboration, I think we are going to address most of these challenges. Again, I am also looking forward to see military and other security agencies that are more friendly, more community-driven, more participatory in terms of not only the security activities, but also in terms of humanitarian support, in terms of development support to these communities. Now, I will give example with other militaries, especially in advanced economies, where you see if you have cases like floods and other natural disasters, you see the military coming in to assist people. This is in itself will show the human side of the military, and the civilians, which ordinarily are not used to seeing the presence of the army and other security, within their midst, will gradually begin to understand that this fight is our own fight. This military and the Nigerian army is ours. They are here to protect us. They are here to provide security for our lives and properties. And I think the people will be able to understand and appreciate that. And I think we should also take into cognizance that the military in itself are not, in most cases, having the required machineries and equipment that they may require. So sometimes, it's just one life. They take the risks. They put their lives before, the ordinary civilians. But at the end of the day, when they are gone, who really says what is happening? So I think the government, in its own part, will have to look at various issues of addressing some of these challenges. Number one, I always say this: the military in these operations shouldn't be allowed to die until we begin to talk about how do we address these problems. By so doing, I think the intelligence sharing is very important. The military should be given that information when it is required and they need to act. I also see that we have to have this synergy between the security architecture, especially if you look at the army and the air force are not really working in sync, because you will have the army on ground, but the airmen are not there, or you have the airmen there, but the military are not on ground. So who clears the remnants of the Boko Haram? So there has to be that synergy, that cooperation, that collaborative effort, so that we'll be able to address some of these challenges. And again, the whole issue of this Boko Haram insurgency is not like the normal warfare. It's quite something that is different. It's something that is new to Nigeria, although we are still fighting the battle at least for a decade now. But I think the military that we have at the moment needs to have a lot of training and orientation, so that they will be able to understand that this is not the normal warfare that will enemy. It is a fight within ourselves, within the system, within our own country. So the The government will have to really address this issue of giving the required training, the information, the equipment to the military, so that they will be able to address some of these challenges. And I think moving forward, the communities will have to be carried along in terms of confidence building, because most of the times we have cases where the ordinary civilian populace do not really have the confidence in the military. Sometimes we give information, and at the end of the day, you will see the Boko Haram coming back after you to say, okay, this is the information, this is the intelligence we get. So you have a lot of backlash. So I think there's a need for that confidence building among the civilians and among the military, so that we'll be able to fight this fight as one united team and to be able to defeat the enemy, which is the Boko Haram. Thank you.
Thank you so much. General Temlong will come to you after we take our first set of reports. And if you're just joining us, our focus tonight is a look at armed forces and national security. A couple of tweets have also come. You can be part of the conversation through our Twitter handle at StudiosLive NTA. Our first report tonight, in keeping faith with the conversation tonight, is coming from Bonu.
Rivers State, like most Niger Delta states, have had its fair share of security challenges, ranging from cultism to kidnapping, vandalism of critical infrastructure, as well as illegal oil bunkering. With the various security outfits making frantic efforts to curb crimes, the police and the Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps in the state have made appreciable progress in combating these crimes using local intelligence gathering, resulting to the rescue of not less than 10 kidnapped victims and the arrest of 187 suspected oil thieves in 2020.
Kidnappings is low, but for now, and the cultism is not as before. What we experienced 2-3 years back is different from what we are seeing today. There's a little bit of relax in youth restiveness.
The recent deployment of over 300 constabularies in Rivers State for community policing, respondents say will no doubt enhance the operations of the security agents. They, however, called for more investment in security and the mop-up of illegal arms and ammunition, as well as increased surveillance in the waterways.
Intelligent gathering is the basic thing. How do we stop the coming in of illegal arms? These are the issues that should be rightly pursued.
If we do only state police, it will just be a smaller problem of the bigger one. We should do the state police and come down to community police.
We want to employ all our sundry to come on board. Let's Police Rivers Command together. Let them share credible and actionable information to us.
They also advised the police to provide timely information to the neighborhood security outfits to avoid breach of security.
Let's go to Port Harcourt.
The abduction and subsequent rescue of 344 students of Government Science Secondary School Kankara was the first major litmus test for Katsina State government and security operatives fighting insecurity in the frontline areas of the northwestern part of the country. Security operatives adopted new strategies and strengthened existing ones, which led to the rescue of kidnapped victims in Katsina and bandits neutralized, as well as the recovery of arms and ammunition.
We've been telling the people, the world, that the problems we are having are community-based. Now community leaders are in partnership with us, together with the security forces, and that's why we're achieving these successes.
The Inspector General of Police intervened, set up a machinery in motion that since these bandits on their own are calling for peace, it is not out of place for us to quickly accept those of them that are willing to drop their arms and embrace peace. Then we will now be able to isolate those that are not willing to embrace peace and then deal with them expeditiously.
With the involvement of community as one of the strategies adopted in ensuring that kidnapped victims regain freedom from their abductors, traditional and religious leaders were optimistic that the new approach will go a long way in the return of normalcy in the frontline local government areas bedeviled by security challenges in Katsina State and the northwestern region.
To commend the federal government of Nigeria, the state government, and other security agencies for doing a wonderful job.
I really appreciate what they were doing right now.
What I expect government to do is you have to put security. You prepare not until something happens.
They also held the synergy among security operatives and pledged their support and cooperation in the fight against all forms of heinous activities in the state and the country at large.
It was actually from Katsina. We now call the report from Port Harcourt.
Of any responsive administration is the security of lives and properties of our citizenry. These explain why Ebonyi State government, among other issues, prioritized the security of the people in line with the goals of the Buhari-led administration. Commissioner of Police, Ebonyi State Command, Mr. Phillips Mako, said government support and the cordial relationship that exists between the people and security agencies contribute in making their job easier.
The major security threat in Ebonyi is this communal clashes and boundary disputes, and then cultism. In the aspect of the cultism, the community policy program, we have launched it in Ebonyi so that they will work in collaboration with the security agent, with the police.
We are doing everything, including very prepared to give a bonus to whosoever that can identify somebody and say this one is also a court member. And the governor has placed some money for them. Repent, leave that way, and then come and have some grant, queue in a business.
Some of the residents share their views on the security of the state.
Security has been very, very tight. Everywhere is just okay.
At least we sleep without anybody harassing us in the night.
Although Ebonyi State is relatively peaceful, security agencies have sworn to be more committed in protecting the environment.
Those reports came in from Meduguri, Katsina, and Abakaliki. I think Port Harcourt report was not part of that particular segment now. But we'll take a break. When we return, we'll go to Jos to sustain the conversation. If you're just joining us, we're looking at armed forces and national security. Our Twitter handle is @TwitterLive NTA. Also, our phone line is displayed on the screen. Stay with us.
For now, the best and most efficient way to avoid getting infected is through regular hygienic and sanitary practices, as well as social distancing. As individuals, we remain the greatest weapon to fight this pandemic. By washing our hands regularly with clean water and soap, disinfecting frequently used surfaces and areas, coughing into a tissue or elbow, and strictly adhering to infection prevention control measures in health facilities, we can contain this virus.
Development Agency of Nigeria is here to help you succeed. Smeden gives you entrepreneurship training that will make your business grow big. It can create access to finance. Smeden can help you prepare a good feasibility study and link you up with the finance institutions that will fund your business. It can also create access to market through local and international trade fairs, opportunity fairs, and exhibitions. Smeden also organizes programs to identify innovative entrepreneurs and promote their business ideas. Contact us at Plot 35 Port Harcourt Crescent, Area 11 Garki, Abuja, or visit our website www.smedan.gov.ng.
Nigerian youths are about the greatest assets the country has at the moment. It is therefore not surprising that the administration of President Muhammadu Buhari is strategically responding to the yearnings of the youth through multiple projects and programs. Youth Entrepreneurship Support Years by Bank of Industry, the Youth Investment Fund by the CBN, and several other conditional cash transfer programs. Recruitment of 774,000 social workers, majority of whom are youths, and so many other projects that are beneficial to youths directly or indirectly. If the administration can do all this, definitely with a degree of patience and time, it can achieve more. Nigerian youths must come together to say no to terrorism, no to vandalism, and no to all disruptive tendencies. Hashtag Youth for Greater Nigeria. Pacifying the youths, unifying the nation.
Coronavirus is real. Steps to avoid this pandemic. Wash your hands regularly or sanitize your hands. Keep social and physical distancing. Avoid crowded places. Stay at home unless absolutely necessary. Don't touch your eyes, nose, or mouth if your hands are not clean. Avoid the spread of coronavirus. Coronavirus is real.
NTA Tuesday Live, a network issue-oriented innovation talk show.
Thanks for staying tuned, and while the reports were on, a couple of tweets have come in, but before we take the tweets, let's go to General Temlong to speak on the overbearing aspect of the armed forces. As much as they are doing so much, as much as they have problems, there are some concerns here that at times they are overbearing. How do you react to this?
Thank you very much. I think there is something that Nigerians must understand, that once you call in the armed forces, it means that the situation has passed or is beyond the capacity of the police or civil police to deal with. And so at that time, the military comes in with force, even though the principle of minimum force and protection of civil population is there. But if there are cases of overbearing, the armed forces being overbearing, there are quite a few, if they are. But the important thing is that the civil population itself, or even the political authority itself, should know what to do and how they do it. I'll give you an example. You look at what is happening in the US today. I'm not talking of the crisis, but I mean there's supposed to be a transition. And there's supposed to be some money budgeted for the training of those who are coming in to build their capacity as to what they're supposed to do and expect. Here in Nigeria, people just struggle and use their contacts and get appointed. They are made advisor on this, they are made commissioner, a governor leaves his classroom or leaves his business or leaves his law chambers or any other business he was doing and becomes a governor. And it is assumed that he has a capacity to function as a governor. It is assumed that the people you are bringing on board have that capacity, yet you have not built their capacity. In civilized crime, you build the capacity of these people on what to expect. There's an orderly transition. They are being taught how crises are being managed, the roles of the military. Kabir was talking about the military being well trained. Yes, but those you are going to interact with, how much do they know about you? Even though every day everybody is a consultant these days, security expert. But the problem is that even at the National Assembly, the high turnout there is not helping. They are not even prepared because the Minister of Defense held a workshop in March this year. And some of us were invited to come and see how we can provide solutions on how to end the crisis. And I tell you, the National Assembly members who are supposed to be part and parcel of the efforts hardly came there. I think one of them came almost at the closing ceremony. And we told them that in USA, it is the Congress that enacted the Goldwater Nichols Act that transformed the operations of the US military. It wasn't an executive bill. It came out from the Congress in 1986. And so if there are problems of interoperability, of synergy, of cooperation, of all these things is what they should aggregate and make laws that will regulate the services, that will make laws that will put the chain of command properly under civilian control. But it looks that capacity is not there. They are not interested. You know, I saw Senator Ndume at the Maiduguri, but I didn't see the other members of the committee with him. He was the only one. Whether the cameras didn't focus on them, but that should have been an operational visit, not just the hospital there. He should have gone right to the front and see and have a feel and talk to the soldiers in Sambisa, in the Lake Chad, how they are feeling, what are the equipment they need, what are the things they need, what are the shortages, and what are the conditions under which they're operating. It is from there he comes back. And so when you see soldiers reacting sometimes, there is a sense of frustration on them. That with all the patriotism, what they are doing, nothing is being done to appreciate the way. And you could see, because of the exposure and training of the president, the commander-in-chief, you find out that he never rebukes openly. No, that's not supposed to be done. It's testmanship. He does rebuke them, but he doesn't rebuke them openly. All he does is to praise. Even during the answers, he still had to maintain the police and telling them that not all of you are bad. You are doing a good job. The few bad eggs are there. I mean, because that institution was really brutalized. The police as an institution. So when you see people reacting or you think they're overbearing at a time, it's because people do not know their role. People do not have the capacity to do what they are supposed to be doing. The states, for example, at the national level, you have a national security advisor. You have the Office of National Security Advisor, which has got professional staff, professional national security staff who have been working and trained to that level, providing the needed advice to the executive. At the state level, you have the sometimes they call them PAMSEC security, who has not even been to NIPS. And you expect him to interact with the security agencies the way it is. He has no professional staff that are there. And how does he even provide that interaction between the military or the security forces and the civil authority? The governor himself has not had that capacity building on crisis management and what his roles are supposed to be. So we expect magic to happen. So I think we recommended when I was at the National War College that whenever, that was the beginning of civil rule, we said that there should be some capacity buildings for incoming governors at least to come and play the crisis game. Even when they are there, they should be coming to play the crisis game so as to see how they fit in, because we are talking about the soft power component in this insurgency. It is their role to provide this software confidence. In fact, they don't even want to use the software. The next thing is that they call the military because they want to be politically correct. For them to sit down and sort out the problem, oh, we don't want to offend these people, their supporters, we don't want to offend this, we don't want to do this. The next thing is that they send in the military, so the military will bear the brunt. But they are the ones who are supposed to provide the software component. They are the ones who are supposed to mobilize their communities. When you say that you win the hearts and mind, yes, but it is those people who are supposed to start. It is the states. Because when Boko Haram started, they said it is our own boys. I remember elders when I met Jonathan and said they should pull out the military. Late General Shua told them that if they pull out the military from Maiduguri, Nigeria will be overthrown. Boko Haram overran Nigeria. Its history now is not alive. There was no, and there is still no national narrative on Boko Haram. Like General Jibrin talked, you go to the religious leaders, some of them are saying these are our boys, some of them are saying no, we shouldn't treat them this way. But Boko Haram was so intelligent that they compromised Nigerians. They started by hitting at the Christians, and so it went well with some religious authorities. When they had finished Christians, they turned on the Muslims, and so the Christians were not even there to help. No, were the Muslims able to help Christians, and so we were compromised and taken piecemeal. And so they had a field day. Very intelligent set of people. People who are saying they are attack, but they have good strategy. So we have to have an all-of-government approach. Like Kabiru said, there are about 27 ministries. And the military is just one element of national power. There are several other elements of national power which should be brought in to bear in this endeavor. You are talking about building or providing humanitarian services. If you, again, unfortunately, if you read the NEMA standard operational procedure, you will find out that the first responders are the military units in most of these areas, and they are supposed to deal with even this flooding that you're talking about. They have helped, they have provided assistance with floods once ever they activated their call. But unfortunately, the states, most of the states have not established their own SEMA, the State Emergency Management Agency, which is supposed to synergize with the NEMA, National Emergency Agency, and to be linking up with the disaster response units in their own locality for them to tap into it and respond immediately before federal assistance comes. Some of the states don't have SEMA. So how do you do? So they are so complex that we have, and you cannot give somebody money if you do not have money. If we don't know some of the things to do, unless we build our capacity, we cannot give Nigerians the good governance that they require. We cannot be able to tackle this insurgency as we're supposed to tackle, because there are very critical roles that the states, the local governments, and the communities are supposed to play in governance. Unfortunately, the participation of citizens in governance ends after the electioneering campaigns in Nigeria, because after that one, governance, the citizens are no more involved. Unless we get our citizens on board, unless we get our citizens to be part and parcel of governance, some of these things we are doing, the security problems that we are having will continue to be protracted, and the peace we are looking for will continue to be a mirage.
We'll come back to you. Now, given Gerald Lamlong's line of thought, let me leave the next one on Dr. Adamu and Dr. Abbas before I come to General Jibrin. Now, from what he has said, how do we now create a deliberate mainstreaming and synergy to ward off and stem what he has raised? Starting with Dr. Adamu.
I get your question well. How do we create a synergy between the military and the citizenry, right?
Clear stream and create a deliberate synergy that will stem the issues raised by General Temlong?
It's clear. The answer lies in our national defense policy. And I am aware, General Jibrin can corroborate this, that we're currently developing a revised national defense policy for the simple reason that some of the security challenges that we're being confronted with at the moment are, as it were, new and require a more advanced and more befitting national defense policy. But in doing that, I think it's absolutely important. I want to give context to the use of the word military overbearance. We've agreed here that the military is involved in internal security issues, and we've also agreed that it is not the responsibility of the military. So I'm hoping that as part of the development of that national defense policy, this role of the military would be reduced. Now, it's going to be a bit difficult because by training, the military cannot say no to the political office holder, especially if it's the president that is directing the military to become involved. But what do advanced countries do? That is the role of the consuls. When some of these issues come up, they are tabled at the consul. So as an example, the National Defense Council, it is discussed, and then the pros and cons of each involvement is considered. And then it is at that council that perhaps the president would hear both sides, and then a decision will be taken. I'm very happy with the point raised by General Tenglong regarding legislative oversight. I mentioned at the early stages of our discussion that our military history has created some of the circumstances that we have, and frankly, that is one legacy of our military history, the inability of the legislature, as it were, to have effective oversight over the military. I agree with him totally. There is a need for capacity development. The turnover within the National Assembly is quite high. The interesting thing is that there is commitment, and the commitment was visible. He gave the example of Senator Indume. He's been quite active. Several other committee chairmen, that of the Army, that of National Security, name them. They've been very active. But then that activeness, does it translate in effective legislative oversight? The laws and some of these policies that we're discussing, are they commensurate to some of the challenges that we have at the moment? Unfortunately, no. So that's one. Leadership is key in addressing some of the points he has raised. Legislative oversight is absolutely important. And then I mentioned earlier on translating the policies into implementation framework and taking them down to the people, starting from the state governors. I agree with General Tenglong when he said it's the state governors that would actually implement some of these issues. But how can they do it when we have not taken some of these policies down to them? I mentioned earlier on the countering violent extremism framework. When it was launched, one of the things we advise is that it should be taken to the state governors. And then once the governors embrace it, they can now start the implementation. Time will not allow me to go into the details of the countering violent extremism framework. But by the time you look at that framework and see the various roles of de-radicalization, counter-radicalization, strategic communication, as well as economic, addressing the economic challenges within the location, you would now understand the role that document would have played in the counter-insurgency and counter-terrorism issues that we have in the country. So I think it's a combination of all of these factors that would help address the challenges as raised by General Tenglong.
Let's see the perspective of Dr. Ali Abbas. How do we mainstream and create a deliberate synergy that will check what has been raised by General Temlong in Jos?
Thank you for this very important question. I think first we have to look at it from both sides. Let me start with the civilian side. It is something that is quite new to us, especially those communities and areas that are suffering the challenges of this insecurity. And the Nigerian Army ordinarily are not expected to be residing or living within the residence of the civilian populace, so it's something that is new and strange to most of us. Number one, that reorientation has to be there. The people will really have to understand that the Nigerian Army is the only Nigerian Army that we have. We have no other army than our own Nigerian Army, so we have to support them. We have to provide all the necessary information that is required of them to be able to discharge their responsibilities. We also have to, as citizens, be able to give all the support and the kind of interaction that the military will be able to harness in order to give them the appropriate opportunities to be able to discharge their responsibilities. On the side of the military, I think it is not only having the presence of the military that will be able to address some of these challenges. I am sure that the symbolic presence of the military in that place does not begin and ends in terms of their normal routine operations or protections of life or property. I think there has to be an extension of that primary role and responsibility, like I mentioned earlier, to be able to have the winning of the hearts and minds of the citizens. There has to be that confidence building. There has to be that trust building among the populace. Also, the military will have to be supported by the federal and the state government in terms of equipment, in terms of logistics, in terms of intelligence, and all that they require to make them perform their functions. Most of the challenges that we have today in this operation areas is because the military, in some cases, do not have the required arms and ammunition that they should be able to discharge some of their functions. So in some cases, they become frustrated and transfer aggression easily to the ordinary civilians. And I think it's important that the military has introduced the civil military department in the Ministry of Defense, which has been extended to various military formations across the theater operation areas. And I think it's something that is very important, but we need to do much more in terms of such collaborations and synergy to be able to have such symbiotic understanding that the military are there for the ordinary citizens and the citizens are there also to support the military to be able to discharge their responsibilities in terms of the protections of lives and property, especially with the current insecurity challenges that we have. If you compare it to the ordinary or the traditional functions that is known to be performed by the military, I think if you can do most of this, some of these challenges will be addressed. It's a war that is a collective effort of all of us, and I think if we put our heads together and work as a team, we'll be able to defeat our enemy, inshallah. Thank you.
Dr. Abbas. Now, back to General Jibrin. Let me structure this question maybe differently. Sometime we looked at civil-military relations in counter-terrorism narrative in Nigeria. Is that concept still working, or it just flipped through and we never heard about it again?
Yeah, civil-military relation is a very important aspect of the counterinsurgency operation in Nigeria. The other time when I talk about the civil-military relation, I mainly talk about the support the civilians are expected or the populace are expected to give to the military in terms of intelligence sharing and in terms of propping up the public so that they can give support to the military. The other aspect of the civil-military relation is the winning the hearts and minds. Winning the hearts and minds, the military is involved in this right from the beginning. And that's why General Temlon said that we have units that are called CRUs, that is Crisis Response Unit, designated in all the zones in the country to help in crisis
problems, to help in managing crises. These are units that are trained from time to time and are ready to be deployed whenever there are crises like fire, flood, and things like that. So this is one aspect of winning the hearts of mind and where the military gets involved in civil military affairs. In other areas, the military is involved in road construction, bridge constructions. In the public, if you go to Maiduguri, there are certain areas that roads are constructed by the military because it's difficult. If you tell the civilian contractor to go to that place and construct the road, he will not be able to do, or construct the bridge, he will not be able to do. But the military engineers are doing it. And other areas of the winning the hearts of minds, the military is involved in renovation and reconstruction of schools and dispensaries. In so many of the areas the military is operating, in the northwest, in the northeast, in the north central, the military is providing these several schools who are renovated and reconstructed, and then desks and chairs provided. And then it's in some schools where the teachers, because of fear of attack or something like that, could not go and teach, the military provided the teachers. So they have also provided doctors and nurses in so many dispensaries and hospitals in critical areas where most of the doctors and nurses will not like to go and work. It is very, very important to note this. The military also is involved in provision of water. Many boreholes were constructed in several communities where the military is operating to provide potable water for the people they are operating in their area. So there is also from time to time the medical outreach. During this medical outreach, free consultancy is given and then medicine is dispensed free to the people in the area. So another area they are helping is in the stakeholders engagements. In this stakeholders engagement, the military is involved in rallying the community, the traditional rulers, the religious leaders, the farmers, and the youths are gathered together, and the message of peace is given, and they are encouraged to try to live with one another peacefully. So these are part of the component of civil military affairs that the military is making effort to put across, so that you not only protect the people, but you try to also provide succor for them in terms of need. You also to provide some basic amenities they do. So to my mind, if state government can support in this effort, if the military and the state government can come together in provision of these basic amenities like construction of boreholes, the state government can provide the funds, then the military bring the military engineers to sink the boreholes and construction of this road. Because one of the major problems our troops are suffering in northeast in particular are the roads, access to the road. Because if you are going for an operation, you need to mobilize some of the equipment, some of the platforms are not cross-country. They have to go on the roads, and to convey logistic support, logistics equipment into these areas is difficult because the roads are terrible. And I can see the military providing support in construction of roads in small areas, linking villages and so on. But the major roads that are supposed to link with major towns, major supply centers, the state government and federal government need to come in here to ensure that these roads are well constructed, so that movement is made very easy to convey logistic equipment, to convey some of the platforms. It's very, very important. And if you also look at the aspect of the support the state can give, it is something that is within the reach of every state governor, especially in the front lines state. You know, welfare package, when the military is involved in operation, they do have some free time, sometime during relief in line, some free time they have. The state government can use the opportunity also to reach out to the troops by being with them as suggested, apart from the state governors, the legislators, especially the various committees that are involved with defense and the other services, visitation helps a lot to boost the morale. If the visit conducted by the chairman of the committee in the army involves, like suggested, going to the front line, the soldiers are seeing their senator coming to greet them and say hello, well done, how is the morale, and things like that. It will definitely help the morale. So civil-military relation in the military is a very, very important aspect of military activity. That's why in all the services there is a branch dedicated to civil-military affairs, and generals are commanding this. And every day they try to conduct activities that will propagate the virtues of civil-military relation, and they conduct seminars and activities that will bring the civilians closer so that they can see what the military is doing, so that they can know what areas they can support the military in operation. So it's very, very important to mention this. This goes along with other efforts of the military in the kinetic aspect, which is the main area where the military is good at.
Okay. Now, before we take the last set of reports, quickly, 2 tweets came in. Well, not really very relatedly, but maybe we'll address them when we'll come back after the reports. The first is from Ibiwase. Hello, my question is, why is it that whenever there is an incident of robbery, fight, or unrest in particular places, when the attention of the security personnel is called, before they show up, the worst had already happened? The next is coming from at Kontagora. The security of Nigeria will not be improved if the way and manner of employing the soldiers is not controlled strictly. The politicians have done so many harm to our institutions. Employment is based on who knows, not on merit. We will address that when we take the next report. Our next line of reports coming from the first will be from Yobe.
Yobe State is one of the states in the northeast region of the country was hit by the activities of Boko Haram insurgents in over a decade. During the peak of the insurgency, the contribution of people collectively and individually played a significant role in the successes recorded by security agencies in restoring peace in the frontline areas. To further consolidate on these gains, the state government recently constituted a high-level security consciousness and awareness committee led by the state deputy governor Idi Bardagubana, where they had an engagement with emirate councils across the state and other relevant stakeholders with a view to reawaken communities to be vigilant and keep surveillance on activities of persons or group of people in their domain so as not to be caught unaware.
This committee was directed by His Excellency the Executive Governor University Malabuni in his ways of to visit the critical areas where security challenges is becoming so prominent, to sit down their Royal Highnesses and the leaders of all the groups and get the way forward on how to curtail this happiness, which retards the development among the people.
Security is life. Security is everything in life. And everybody's happiness should not be left for only security authorities.
More so, a 259-strong police constabularies was inaugurated in the state to further enhance security consciousness around communities. The police constabularies were selected from the 70 local government areas of the state and trained for 3 months on aspect of community policing at the Nigerian Police Training College, Maiduguri in Borno State.
Mina, Niger State.
The pervasive armed banditry and its attendant threats to human security in the northern part of the country have become a subject of national discourse and public concern. Report has it that Niger State, due to its large landmarks with thick forest, has had a share of the unfortunate and inhuman treatment of bandits, with many lives lost, property worth millions of naira destroyed, and several communities displaced. This has left the victims homeless, with many still counting their losses and begging for urgent attention